Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another day, another episode of 30NSG. On today's show, we're going to be talking about Helldivers 2 is already one of PlayStation's all-time best sellers, and it's all thanks to the PC version. We're going to talk a lot about Starfield. We got a couple of different things we're going to talk about Starfield. We're going to talk about also Xbox to go full multi-platform with Halo and Forza on PlayStation, says Jez Corden. Tom Warren comes out and asks the question, with the 30, 40, 60 frames per second, what does it mean for Xbox Series S? We're going to talk about the Starfield update. We watched the video yesterday. We're going to watch a Juicehead video because he went in and played, because it's a beta right now on Steam, so you can download the beta client for Starfield. He goes over a bunch of info about it, so we're going to watch that together. I watch him. He's a big Bethesda guy, likes Bethesda games, so we're going to cover that as well. We're going to talk a lot about I have an issue with just the way games are coming out, right? I don't have a problem with... Look, I play a lot of games that are unfinished when they come out, right? But they're not in early access. They're not in beta. These are full-fledged games that come out in the industry, and we buy them, right? We buy them. We pre-order them. We get the season pass ahead of time. So we're going to have a little bit of a conversation because this is more and more happening with AAA games. And we're not even talking about live service games. We're talking about single-player games that come out unfinished. You pay full price for them, and then you have to wait a year to 18 months afterwards to get the full experience of what you should have gotten at launch. So that's what we're going to talk about today. If you like what we do here, we just cover news stories, have conversations, give you my opinions. We go back and forth with chat. We appreciate it very much for you showing up every single day. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and if you'd like to go above and beyond that, you become a member as little as $5. We do uploads, live streams, podcasts, gameplay, lots of different content on this channel over here on 30NSG. What's going on, Travis? What's going on, Behemoth Titan? What's going on, Dave Rose? Good morning. What's going on, Kylo Green, Robert Jones, Roick, Hemi, Stealth? Good morning. Good morning. Hope you guys are all having a fantastic morning. Had your coffee, tea, beer, whatever you're doing. All right. So let's start off with Helldivers 2 news. Morning, Water. Travis says, the 30 Republic Commando is amazing. It's like COD, actually. I had a campaign. Oops. Can I say that? It might be get pitched at like Christopher Judd. Start a new game plus in Stellar Blade. Nice. G Fuel, because I dislike coffee. Well, there you go. There you go. Drink whatever you want. You know, I'm not the police. Be like, what are you drinking? G Fuel. Oh God. Go on, Z. Go on, D Money. All right, so let's start off with Helldivers 2. Okay, Helldivers 2 is already one of the PlayStation's all-time best sellers, and it's all thanks to the PC version. Okay, it says, what an impressive first couple of months for Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2 may have only launched 2 months ago, but it's already become Sony's 7th highest revenue game, and Steam is partly to thank. Not partly to thank. 100% because it came out on PC and PlayStation at the exact same time. On May 1st, video game analyst Matt Piscatella shared some interesting highlights from consumers companies. The latest video game market research in the lengthy Twitter thread, Piscatella broke down the best performing games as of March of 2024, including some of the biggest releases that we've seen this year, like Dragon Dogma 2, Helldivers 2, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and more. Although all these games have performed well already this year, Helldivers 2 sales are particularly impressive. According to Piscatella, the Arrowhead Games Studios title is the best-selling premium game of 2024 year-to-date, as well as Sony's 7th highest revenue game in lifetime sales, despite launching 2 months ago. Here's the thing. It made the list at the 7th highest, and it's not a full-price game. Think about that for a second, right? Think about that for a second. It's up there as the 7th highest revenue at $35, not a $70, right? So let's look at his tweets here. He says, U.S. video game projection total market consumer spending 13-month rolling consumer spending by month and change versions prior to year. Note, January 2024 was a 5-week tracking period, while January 2023 was a 4-week tracking period. He continues in saying, March of 2024, top 20 best-selling premium games, US dollar sales, physical and digital from digital data sharing publishers, exclude add-on content. Okay, up here in the small fine print here, it says March 2024, top 20 bestsellers, physical, full game, digital, and Nintendo eShop, PlayStation, Steam, Xbox platforms for publishers, and in Digital Leader panel. Ranked on dollar sales, reporting between March 3rd, 2024 and April 6th, 2024. So, number one last month was Dragon Dogma 2. Obviously, we don't know the sales themselves, but Dragon Dogma 2 was the top seller from Capcom. Helldivers, which was number one, went down to number two. That's from Sony. Then you have Sony's MLB The Show 2024. Makes sense. It just came out. Baseball season. Just like we talk about, a movie comes out and you want to go play that game because it's tied in or it's the same type of IP. Same thing happens with sports games. They drop a sports game. Baseball season happens. People want to play a baseball game. So MLB The Show is up there as well. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 2023 is at number 3. Rise of Ronin was at 3. Call of Duty is at number 4 now. Rise of Ronin is at number 5. Princess Peach Showtime's at number 6. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is at number 7. Unicorn Overlord is at number 8. WWE 2K24 is at number 9. And Hogwarts Legacy, this is a surprise. I'll be honest. Over a year later, Hogwarts Legacy is at the 10th spot, which is beating out Madden NFL 24, EA Sports FC 24, Minecraft, Horizon Forbidden West, Tekken 8, Rainbow Six, Elden Ring, and Mario Kart 8. That's very surprising to see Hogwarts Legacy still up on the charts. The game that everyone hated because of reasons. Not because of the game, by the way. Okay. He continues and says, Dragon Dogma 2 debuted as the best-selling premium game of March and third best-selling game in 2024 with just 1 month in the market. Dragon Dogma 2 has already surpassed the life-to-date tracked dollar sales of Dragon Dogma and Dragon Dogma's Dark Arisen combined, which is huge, okay, for them. Helldivers 2 remains the best-selling premium game of 2024 year-to-date after placing second in March, and Helldivers 2 currently ranks 7th in lifetime U.S. dollar sales for Sony's published titles after just 2 months in the market. So, going back to the article, it says, what's interesting about Helldivers 2's success is that it's just come from Sony's... It's not just comes from Sony's platform. It separates tweets. Piscatella explains that the PC has a huge part of the success of Helldivers 2. No crap. I mean, I said that in the very beginning of the article before we even got to this point. Helldivers 2 in the US, and without those PC numbers, it wouldn't currently rank amongst the top 20. Right? Hence why in the past, I've always said that PlayStation will bring their titles day and date because it's just smart business. This has nothing to do if you like Xbox or hate PlayStation or love PlayStation and hate Xbox. These companies are in a small, finite, they want the bigger picture, right? They want the billions of people to be able to get out to their game instead of the hundreds of millions of people that can get to their game. The console market is like 360 million people that buy console games, okay? And then you're separating those across 3 platforms. And a lot of those owners own a PlayStation, own an Xbox, and own a Switch, okay? So that overlaps, okay? So there's a lot of people that just not tapped into, and obviously tapping the resources into those people. Remember, resources. We're the resource. We're the oil in the ground that they're trying to drain us, right, to get our money. Well, they got to put more out there to get it. And PlayStation obviously is successful right now because Helldivers is on PC. And a lot of people are playing on PC that wouldn't even touch the game if it wasn't on PC. Okay. So it says you'll also find Helldivers 2 on the top spot of the top 20 best-selling premium games year to date, ending in March 2024, and the top 10 titles played on Steam in the same month. It's also ranked as number 5 in the top 10 titles played on PlayStation 5 list, and the number 2 in the top 10 best-selling premium game list is PlayStation platforms, beaten only by MLB The Show. Well, imagine MLB The Show. Why is it a bestseller, and why is it on that list? 1, it's baseball season. People are hyped up for baseball. Okay. 2, it's across all platforms, right? MLB The Show, of course, PlayStation didn't want to make it a third-party game, but because it's a third-party game, it makes more money. Imagine that. Okay, so some other impressive figures show that Dragon Dogma 2 is at the top best-selling premium game on Xbox platforms, and Princess Peach Showtime as the top-selling premium game on Nintendo platforms, which doesn't come as much as a surprise considering we're still waiting for a lot of the year's first-party upcoming Switch games. So, there you go. Obviously, this is not rocket science, right? Games make more money when they're on more platforms. More games will see this, more developers, I should say, will see this and say, hey, you know what? I think we should put it on more platforms. If you want to be a first-party title and you just want to be exclusive, cool. Okay? But I just find it funny that if I put my jersey on for whatever console you choose to put me on, okay, people think it's bad for one company to go third party, and then when another company goes third party, they move the goalposts. I'll move the goalposts in a second. Okay, they're like, oh, Xbox is going all third party. Oh, they don't know what they're doing. They're not going to make enough money. And then meanwhile, PlayStation, their top 2 selling games of last month are 2 games that are cross-platform. Helldivers, which is on PC and PlayStation, and MLB The Show, which is also out of PlayStation and across other platforms. So imagine, behold, more money coming in because more people can play those games. It's an amazing thing that happens. So going forward, do I think that not only do I think Helldivers will come to Xbox down the road, okay, might be a year from now, but it will come because that's a place for them to make more money. And these companies, all they care about is making more money, okay? They're not about hurting people's feelings of going, well, we're going to move it over to this console. And someone's like, oh, but I'm a PlayStation guy. You can't put it over there. Oh, I'm an Xbox guy. You can't put it over there. You already paid for it. You're already playing it. And if you didn't buy it, then you're not the customer for that particular game. And you move on to the next game that you're interested in. But these are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments section down below. What do you think? Do you think that PlayStation, because of Helldivers, because it's making more money, because MLB The Show makes more money, do you think more games from PlayStation are going to be going third party across PC and other consoles? Or do you think they're going to be hold on to that real tight and never, ever go out? This is a one and done thing with Helldivers 2. I don't believe so. But let me know in the comment section down below. Please make sure you share, like, and subscribe. And if you like what I do here, please make sure you check out some of our other videos. Thanks for watching. All right, let me see what you guys are saying. Hello Green says, I've never had G Fuel. I've had Red Bull. I've also never had G Fuel. But G Fuel is not a power drink, right? It's a powder that you put into it. Is that what it is? I don't even know what G Fuel is, I'll be honest with you. Let's see. I just put milk in a cup that turns blue. Well, they do have a $60 version, and that is what I bought. Well, the $60 version is like the premium, but the basic game is $35. Go on, Argus. Make me super happy. Ronin is selling well. It's such an underrated game. Well, let me bring this back up. You got to remember, we just had an article yesterday, right? That Alan Wake 2 was selling well, right? Now, I'm not saying what you're saying, Rose, that Ronin's not selling well. Obviously, it's on this chart. But from yesterday's article talking about Alan Wake 2 that hasn't made back their budget yet. So, obviously, not knowing what the numbers and sales are, it could be on the chart, but we don't know what the actual sale. You know what I'm saying? So, just because it's on a chart doesn't mean it's actually good, because they said Alan Wake 2 was selling very well. It's the fastest selling game they've ever sold for Remedy, but at the same time, it's not doing very well at this point. Hogwarts Legacy was a good game. I thought it was great. I thought it was a very good, as a game. It was a game. It was a game. And they waited to put it out when they had a full game. 83 hours in, absolutely love every minute. Got a PlayStation 5 and Switch, but my Switch is more of an expensive paperweight at the moment. Behemoth Titan says, Helldivers 2 coming to Xbox in December. I mean, it might come this year, but I wouldn't be surprised if they push it next year. It's like a one-year exclusive type of thing, you know, but not even exclusive because they made it exclusive, just because trying to port it over, it might take some time. Do you think it's coming? That's your prediction? You think it's coming out in December, Behemoth? Dave says, I'm nearing the end of Ronin. I think I can tell with the way the story is. It's coming. The crescendo. Third party good period. Anyone says otherwise, they are wrong. Well, Ronin was on the list, and now Stellar Blade, and those are exclusive. Sure. All I'm saying is, just because it's on a list, and it says it's selling well, and then we have stories that say that it's selling well, but it hasn't made its money back, to me, that's selling well and not making money back is two different things. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that Ronin is not doing that. I'm just saying that just because something's on the list, we don't know if it's actually good or not. And I'm saying that in a general sense, not because if you like a game, you like the game. Definitely more live service, multiplayer PlayStation 5 games will go third party. I think it's also will hold onto a single player for as long as they can, which I think is not very long, Jones. They'll be dumb not to at least consider doing it. So, but it is Sony, so they probably won't. Multiplayer versus single player game, third party for multiplayer, first party for single. I still think PL they still bring their first party title. I do. Nando, what's going on? Let me see what else you guys are saying. Artemis, what's going on? Good morning. Hogwarts was my game of the year last year, honestly. I loved it, Kylo. I thought it was a fantastic game from beginning. I'm not saying it was the best game ever. I just thought it was a well-rounded, great game. Storytelling, mechanics. I was worried about the combat. The combat felt fantastic in Hogwarts. It felt good. The exploration, all the things you could find. If you were a Harry Potter, which I'm not a Potterhead, but all the things that you could find and the lore and the different things, it was so good. Yeah, because I don't even hear PlayStation owners talking positively about Ronin besides when they try to use skewed sales numbers to attempt to dunk on Xbox guys on Twitter. Yeah, I don't take those people seriously. Like, I just look at stuff like this. Like, I thought when they came out with an article, Argus, about Alan Wake 2, I was like, oh, sweet. It's the fastest selling game for them. Best selling game for Remedy. I was like, congratulations to those guys. And then you have an article like we read yesterday and we're like, oh, well, that's disappointing. So even in their fastest and best selling game ever, still not making budget. Now, in the long run, it might make it with the DLCs and stuff that they have, and make it in the long run, they'll make their money back. Because it doesn't have to make its money back day one. You know what I mean? Let's see. Baldur's Gate 3 is undeniably. I have a yet to fall in love, though. But I have 15 hours into it. I just haven't gotten drawn in and addicted like others. I'm the same way with Baldur's Gate 3. I have 11 and a half hours. I just can't go back. But my 11 and a half hours that I played, I absolutely loved. Artemis says, Helldivers 2 is coming to Xbox. They need to find another publisher. The same was Death Stranding and MLB The Show did. I don't think it was a different publisher for MLB The Show, Artemis. I'm not officially on that. Was it a different... Hold on. Publisher, Sony Interactive Entertainment, MLB Advanced Media, more. Let me see. Publisher, Sony Interactive Entertainment, MLB Advanced Media. Publisher, Sony Interactive Advanced Media. I'm pretty sure that it was published by Sony still. It pops up when you log into MLB The Show. At least it did last year when I played it. Am I wrong about that? I talk positive about Ronin all day. I actually like it better than Ghost of Tsushima. Oh, okay. Probably see more staggered releases. Argus says, now you're just being blasphemous. If Sony can meet their numbers by only expanding to PC, they will be less inclined to release single player on Xbox. Absolutely. Now, I'm not talking about... I've never, ever said, Jones, that they're taking their first-party titles day and date coming to Xbox. I've never said that. All I said was that PlayStation will release day and date on PC. I've never said it's coming to Xbox for the first-party titles. All I've said is that they're going to do day and date on PC. I enjoy it better. The combat is better than Ghost, was a little clunky. RPG mechanics is also rise better to Ghost, definitely. It's a nod in graphics and atmosphere. Travis says 30 can't go back to Baldur's Gate 3. You're too busy having guys killed come back to the end season. That's right. I have to go back to Division 2 every 3 weeks and make sure I check in. think it's mainly the combat. I've never been a fan of the turn-based combat. Marcus says, I don't know that the game that is pretty similar to other games. It's also a generation or two old looming graphics. You're talking about Ronin, right? Ronin for the graphics. I see that's the biggest problem that people talk about Ronin. There's like the graphics are kind of dated. To me, I look at it and I don't really think it's dated. It's just the you know, what they went with. MLB The Show on Xbox is published by MLB Advanced, but it also pops up with Sony Interactive. Let's see. MLB Advanced is a limited partnership of the club owners of Major League Baseball, based in New York. It's an internet and interactive branch of the league. Let's see. The company operates an official website of the league of 30 Major League Baseball club websites with draws to 4 million hits per year. The site offers news standings. That has nothing to do. MLB Advanced Media LP is a limited partnership. Limited partnership is a type of partnership as general partners who have a right to manage the business and limited partners who have gotten no right to manage the business but have only limited liability for its debts. Limited partnership also distincts from limited liability partnership. Let's see. 2000 by Baseball Commissioner Bud Siegel, also considering online rights and ticket sales. 120 million. No, I think that's the Major League Baseball. That is just part of Major League Baseball. I don't think that has anything to do with that. Like, Sony Interactive is the publisher. Yeah, it's 100% published by Sony. Yeah, that's MLB's own. It's like their own division to make sure about other things, but it's not published. They're not the publisher. They're part of the publishing, but publisher of MLB. Sony is the game maker, and they're the publisher. MLB is the ones that told San Diego Studios to, you better put it on Xbox. We want to make more money. Yeah, because I'm pretty sure. Let me see. Yeah, they don't even have a games list. They don't even have a games list on their site for MLB Advanced Media. Morning, Wonder Rose. We need a Republic Commando sequel. Nah, we'll get a separate game that will just be something completely shittier, Travis. Argus says, I'll give Game of the Year to Stellar Blade first. You think Stellar Blade right now is the lead runner for Game of the Year? Gotta admit, it is funny seeing a Sony logo when you fire up MLB The Show or on the Xbox. I mean, it is funny. The same thing when you boot up Sea of Thieves on the PlayStation. You're gonna see that. You're gonna see that Microsoft Studios and Rare. There's no difference. At least we haven't played PlayStation 2 game recently. Let's see. When PlayStation gamers buy this year's Call of Duty, it will have an Xbox logo appear at the startup. Yes, it will. Yes, it will. Let's see. Artemis, are you muted? No, I can see you just fine. Why would you be muted? You're showing up on my thing. Right, it's like Madden being exclusive to Xbox, and NFL being like, what the hell is this? Gotta be on PlayStation. What's going on, Hilly? I thought Stellar Blade's story is so bad. It's like a soap opera bad. I know nothing. I know nothing about the game except that she's got a nice assets. That's what I know about Stellar Blade from the media. For me, the best game of the year, Mike, but no, I don't think it will win Game of the Year. But you think it's a nomination. You think it's one of the 6 games that's gonna make it. Minecraft's been doing that. That's true. That's true. Has Foam Stars dead yet? I haven't heard anything about Foam Stars, but I don't think it's dead. I don't think it's dead. MLB The Show on the Xbox webpage says publisher MLB. Yes, because MLB is in charge of the MLB brand, Artemis. I just told you. MLB, right? The MLB Advanced Media is MLB's section to push out MLB to other avenues. They're not anything else than that. Because Sony wants to make the game, MLB Advanced Media is a part of that. They're part of the publishers. Like, they're like the mediator in between, right? Like, if Sony talks to MLB, MLB is like, well, you got to go through MLB Advanced Media, right? Depending on what else comes out this year, yes, I think it deserves a slot so far. However, the current game environment, professional critics and companies are not going to acknowledge that. Yeah, I can see that. Like, it gets in the category, but it won't win because it's too confrontational. Because she's a sexy woman, which I don't get. Oh, I agree, Jones. To me, it doesn't matter at all, right? Like, a game's a game. But see, people pushed that off to the side, Jones, because Microsoft was already Minecraft was already part of PlayStation before Microsoft bought it, right? That's why they kind of discount it. That's why they don't include Minecraft when it's a Microsoft title now. They're like, oh, well, they bought it after the fact, so. Pretty sure the only reason MLB went to Xbox is because Sony either lost the license or didn't want to pay for it anymore. No. MLB literally said, you need to put this on the other consoles because we want to make more money. They overpowered, the MLB overpowered Sony, and they said, if you want to keep what you're doing, the license for the MLB, then you better put us on other consoles. I think Stellar Blade will get the Hogwarts treatment and not get a nod based on politics. Do you, Rose? I think maybe Stellar Blade will get nominated. I just don't think it'll win. But again, I didn't play the game. I don't know anything. I'm just based on what what's around that game right now. Yeah. This is why when you bring up MLB is on Xbox, Sony fans will come to its defense saying, well, that wasn't Sony because MLB made them do it. Right? So that's why they don't take that as a loss. They're just like, no, Sony didn't let that happen. Well, they did because they wanted to make money. MLB was like, we want to make money. Sony's like, well, we want to make money too, but we want to keep it on this console. And they're like, well, if you want to make money, then you're going to move it over to Xbox. And they went, okay. Because think about this. If Sony said no, MLB would go, okay, we're going over to Xbox. And then Xbox would be like, yeah, we're okay with you putting it on PlayStation. And then Sony's like, well, wait a minute. We just lost a shit ton of money. MLB is a way for Sony to see the secret sauce of Xbox console and vice versa. Sure, I guess. I mean, they literally MLB and Sony took money to put it on Game Pass. They're not that heartbreaking about it. Travis, that is the correct answer. Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball on N64 is the best baseball game ever. Can we have the same thing happen to Spider-Man since it's owned by Marvel? You would only way that would happen, Ron, honestly, the only way it would happen is if, let's say, the next Spider-Man game came out and it didn't sell enough copies, right? Because Sony owns the rights to Spider-Man in the film industry, but they don't own the rights to it in the game industry. If the copies come out and they don't sell enough on PlayStation, in this hypothetical scenario that you just put in front of us, okay? Let's say the next Spider-Man 3 comes out and it sells 4 million copies. It doesn't make its money back. Then and only then will they go, okay, we gotta start putting it out on PC and PlayStation day and date. So they'll Spider-Man 4 or the DLC or something comes out, then they would put it on PC. If it then doesn't sell enough on PC and PlayStation, then and only then will they go, all right, we got to move it over to another console. Do you see what I'm saying? As long as it sells and makes its money back, then it's successful. See, MLB The Show was like, well, we have this only on this console, but a majority of the population, it might have been the best-selling baseball game, but it wasn't the best-selling baseball game that it could be because not enough people were buying it on the PlayStation. You see what I'm saying? So they moved it over to other platforms because other people that wanted to play Major League Baseball game couldn't. They had to buy a console to just play that, and they're not going to do that. So there would have to be a lot to go on and bad sales for Spider-Man, which I don't think would happen because Spider-Man himself is one of the most popular characters on the planet. So for this particular series to do that, it would have to be a shot in the dark, where if they came out with a new game and Marvel's like, no, we're making a game, Marvel Studios wants to make a game, teams up with some studio, and then they put it everywhere, that could be a thing. But the specific Insomniac Studios, I don't think it'll ever happen because they will always make enough sales for that. Now, it will come day and date. PlayStation games will come day and date on PC. 100%. Because they'll make all their money up front instead of going 5 million sales on PlayStation and then 2 years later put it to platform. You know what I mean? Like, they want to make that money up front. No, because Sony owns Spider-Man in the same reason Disney World can't make Spider-Man attraction, because Sony has a deal with Universal Orlando where they can't make certain Marvel IP rides in Florida. No, that's not the reason. So the reason that they can't make... So Universal Studios signed a deal, and it has nothing to do with Sony, right? They have the film rights. That's it. Sony only has the film rights. T-shirts, backpacks, video games, everything else is Marvel, okay? And because Universal signed the deal and then Disney bought them after the fact, they signed a deal because of a compete clause, okay? Because of Universal Studios having the X-Men land or the Marvel land with the Hulk, Spider-Man ride, because they share a spot in Florida, they're not allowed to build any attractions that they have with any character they have east of the Mississippi. They can build the Marvel campus over in the West Coast. They can make a ride. They can put a Spider-Man ride. They can do anything they want west of the Mississippi. Anything over east of the Mississippi has nothing to do with Sony owning Spider-Man. Nothing. Zero. It has everything to do with Disney buying the rights after the fact when Universal already had the rides. I also think the Spider-Man gas multiplayer completely canceled. It's also a lot of promises, just from a little that we saw. Yeah, but what you said, Kylo, is completely different than what I just said. You said no, because Sony owns Spider-Man. It's the same reason Disney... That's not the reason why they can't do it. The only reason is because Universal is a competing theme park. And they spent millions and billions of dollars building that section, and then their competitor bought it. Now, Universal pays them actual the license to use that still, because they're grandfathered into that actual deal. Okay, so as long as they keep paying Disney, then they get to keep that over there, and they're never gonna not pay it. Hence why they're banking big time on a new park with Mario, with other Harry Potter stuff. I doubt Sony will be able to hold on to Spider-Man forever. Well, Spider-Man almost got sold back to them, because when Marvel sold it to Sony, Sony was going bankrupt, and they had to sell off assets again. And they had all the rights to Spider-Man, where they had the rights to sell the T-shirts and the movies and the television shows and everything else. But then Sony was going bankrupt, and they had to sell some stuff. So they sold everything back, okay, and only kept the rights to Spider-Man. And this is why you have a Spider-Man film every 5 years, because if they don't make a movie every 5 years, then they lose the license. Now, because they're making Madam Web, because they're making Kraven, this is why they get to hold on to the IP. Well, Kylo, I have to, when you say my bad, people come in and see that and they're like, no, Sony owns it. This is why you're spreading misinformation about it. Or it's starting to get its way of creative visions of the games and existing IP. A lot of Homecoming, where Spider-Man holds on to two halves of the fairy. This is why those movies suck ass. All right, let's go to the next topic, because it's got to do with multi-platform. So grab your PlayStation jerseys. Grab your Xbox jerseys. All right. The second story we have is Xbox to go full multi-platform with Halo and Forza on PlayStation, says Jez Corden. Before I get to this story, if you like what we do here, we do this Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning till noon Eastern. I read some news stories, have conversations, give you my opinion based on the news story. If you like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and if you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. All right. So Xbox to go full multi-platform with Halo and Forza on PlayStation, says Jez Corden. Okay. So around 3 months ago, a flurry of rumors suggested that Microsoft was preparing many Xbox exclusive games to go multi-platform, including heavyweights like Gears of War and Starfield. Upcoming Indiana Jones: The Great Circle. Shortly after those rumors, Microsoft broadcast a business update event where Xbox exclusive or executives revealed that a few games were indeed making the jump from PlayStation and also Nintendo Switch consoles. These games turned out to be Hi-Fi Rush, Pentiment, Grounded, and Sea of Thieves. Phil Spencer labeled this an experiment and warned it didn't mean other bigger games would definitely appear on other consoles, which is not a false narrative there. It's literally, these are a test, and based on what they do, then if they decide to put other stuff on, that would be exactly what he said, right? These are a test, and obviously if they sell well, then there'll be more games, and if they don't sell well, then they don't put more games. Okay? He says, I don't think we should, as an industry, ever rule out a game going into any other platform. That's exactly, he's covering his ass there, right? Right? Bigger games would definitely appear on the other consoles. I don't think we should, as an industry, ever rule out a game going on to any other platform. We focus on these 4 games and learning from the experience. I don't want to create a false expectation on those other platforms that this is somehow the first 4 to get over the dam, and then the dam is going to open up and everything else is coming. That's not the plan today. And that he covered his ass there. That's not the plan today. As far as this question today, when you ask me, this is what our vision is. As of today, that's not going to happen. But tomorrow, completely different story, right? So it says, do note that the final caveat was not the plan at the time. However, clearly Microsoft was open up to the idea, especially if the experiment worked. We don't know how hard sales data yet, except that Sea of Thieves topped the pre-order charts ahead of PlayStation launch. Okay? A few hours ago, renowned Xbox Insider Windows Central journalist Jez Corden broached the topic once again in the Xbox 2 Discord channel. As reported on the Reset Era forums, Corden said that all the Xbox first-party games will be coming to PlayStation eventually. That word eventually, right? You could actually be like, oh, well, it came out 3 years from now, and be like, see, I told you. Like, obviously, I said this 2 years ago when I said Starfield will be exclusive for Xbox, and then it will probably come out a year afterwards because it makes business sense, right? Like, you put it on your platform first, right? There's no difference in what PlayStation's doing when they put God of War on PlayStation first, and then a couple years later, they put it on PC. There's no difference when they put Spider-Man on PlayStation first, and then put it on PC later, right? But somehow there's a difference when Xbox puts it on their console first, and then they put it on the other person's console. Because it's a console, because it's a box in your living room, and not a PC at your desk, there's a completely different narrative here, which makes no sense to me. A platform's a platform. If it's PC, if it's Switch, if it's a console, if it's a handheld, whatever it is, right? All of these games at some point will move over. Halo's been on PC for decades, okay? It came on to Apple. Did they, oh my God, they've gone third party. Like, I don't understand what a lot of these people are upset about, right? Like, games go to other platforms because they have to make money. They want other people to be able to play their games, and they're like, what market of gamers has this? What market of gamers has that? Maybe we should make a mobile, right? So I'll continue. He says, Gordon said that also all Xbox first-party games will also be coming to PlayStation eventually, even the flagship titles like Halo and Forza. Now, Halo's a little different. I've talked about this in the past. Halo is the brand that started Xbox, right? Original Xbox, Halo is what put it on the map. It was one of the most successful games ever at that point in 2001. It was amazing. It was fantastic. It shattered records, okay? To move that, I don't think is a big deal because, like I just said, it's been on PC and Xbox for decades now, okay? So to go over to PlayStation as that head Sonic, or remember when Sonic was on Sega Genesis, you could not fathom a Sonic game coming over to Nintendo. And then yet Sonic is right there next to Mario. He's in a game with Mario, right? So as a gamer, it's hard for me to go, I don't see Halo. Like, I'm rejecting it, but obviously it's going to happen, right? Because their plan for these games, for these titles, is to make the most money possible. It doesn't matter if it's Nintendo. It doesn't matter if it's PlayStation. It doesn't matter if it's Xbox. It doesn't matter. They're going to put their games in as many places as possible to get the biggest, broadest amount of gamers to buy a game, especially if Halo Infinite, because there's microtransactions in there, right? They're constantly, or they were constantly updating it and whatnot. So they want more people to come into the ecosystem of what it is. Okay. It says, we also discussed the future of the ecosystem as more as Steam, like in the future, with the ability to sideload PC stores like Steam itself. Microsoft had recently suggested as much, and the upside is that the prices will be more affordable thanks to sales, and the ecosystem will be more open to developers. Meanwhile, the Xbox hardware will be dedicated to a specific niche. Gordon then took discourse on publicly on Twitter, where he reiterated that everything is going to PlayStation and or Switch. It also again talked about Xbox consoles filing a niche and be like a Steam Deck if doing a PC handhelds. He says, do take this rumor for a time being, but it does appear that the direction of Microsoft is willing to take. It may learn more of the upcoming weeks with the Xbox Gamers Showcase now officially rescheduled for Sunday, June 9th. Meanwhile, vote in the poll below and let us know what you think about with such a big business shift. Again, I don't think this is the end of the world. This is just they're adapting and moving across, right? All companies are going to be doing the exact same thing. Hence why PlayStation's releasing their live service games day and date as of right now. This is why the period of between PlayStation and PC launches are shrinking every time a new game comes out. Okay, so it comes faster and faster. At soon they'll be like, oh, well, let's just put it day and date because that makes the most sense because the people on PC are not going to come over to PlayStation to get that one game. But they will buy that game to put it on their PC, right? It's just a smart business move across the board. I think Xbox, obviously, if you're an Xbox fan and you feel like they betrayed you, I mean, this is why you don't get in bed with a corporation unless you're a stock owner, right? And if you were a stockholder in the company, then you would want them to do this because then they would put more money in your pocket. But if you're not a stockholder, then you shouldn't care because you're just a gamer. And if you're just a gamer, then you wouldn't care where they put the game. You would just want to go where the game is and what your preference is on how you want to play it. If you want to play it on PlayStation, if you want to play it on Xbox, if you want to play it on the PC, if you want to play it on your mobile phone, if you want to play it on your television set, that's you, the gamer. We say this all the time in games. Let me play the game. You make the game. Let me play how I want to play and stop telling me how to play the game. Same thing goes. You make the game, put it on the console, and let me choose what console or where I want to play it for the best for me. These are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. Do you think the big titles, Starfield, Halo, Forza, are all coming sooner rather than later? Or obviously, I do believe they're coming. I just don't believe they're coming soon. I believe that they're coming down the road, which could be 6 months, could be 10 months, could be 2 years. But obviously, I think they would come because if Sea of Thieves makes the sales that they want it to make, then why wouldn't they bring the next IP over? Okay, if Grounded makes more money than they wanted over on the other platform, why wouldn't they bring another game over to put it on the platform? Again, let me know your comments in the comment section down below. Please make sure you share, like, subscribe. And if you like what I do here, please make sure you check out some of our other videos. Thanks for watching. Let's see here. Master Chief was Xbox Mario in the day. Absolutely, Rose. And that's why, as a gamer, I can't see it happening. But then, as you see other brands, right? Sonic was Sega. Sonic was Sega. Sega went under, right? Because they didn't have the internet back then. And then Sega just became a publisher of their games and then started putting it on their competitor, which they went up against. Okay? Xbox heavy hitters coming over from PlayStation 5. In a business. Solomon, I was confused. Halo made it the first person genre is today. Yeah, I agree with that, Eclipse. Yeah, Sega does what Nintendo don't. End of the day, the business discussion, Xbox heavy hitters IP is coming to PlayStation 5. Sure. Yeah, like it or not, they're moving over. And here's what I thought was funny, right? So it's like a double standard. So PlayStation can make God of War, and God of War is a PlayStation exclusive, right? And they're like, that's fine. Now, because Bethesda was their own company and Xbox bought them, and then Xbox is like, hey, we're making this exclusive, so Starfield's exclusive for Xbox. They're like, oh, it's so dirty. How do you make an exclusive thing that you took away from us? It's like, well, they paid money, right? That's like buying something used from somebody, like from a garage sale, and they're like, well, can I have it back on the weekends? They're like, no, I just bought it from you. It's mine now, right? I'm going to do what I want with it, right? But yeah, but I really want to see my dog again. I just can't live without him, but I'm selling him to you. It's like, what are we doing here? Are you selling it? Great. It's ours now, and I can do what I want with it, right? So I think it's like a double standard. So it's okay if you built it up from the ground and you can make it exclusive, but if you buy it with your money and then make it exclusive, that's wrong, right? And then later, if Starfield does come to PlayStation, then they'll be like, haha, see? It's like, see what? They made it exclusive for a time being, and then it came to the third-party platform. What's the problem? I don't see a problem. But then again, I'm not sucking the teat of any console, one or the other. I'm just a gamer, and I'm like, this is fantastic. Okay? Consumers don't have to say it. It's a smart move on Xbox's part. It's a win-win. Everyone on PlayStation games get to experience Xbox IPs. Yeah. Wait, this is a full third-party thing? Is coming back up? I mean, at times it's going to happen, Mo, right? I don't think it's going to happen. Like if if Elder Scrolls 6 comes out next year, I'm just putting it, it comes out next year, it's exclusive for Nintendo, or I'm sorry, it's exclusive for Xbox for a year. And then Elder Scrolls 6 would come to PlayStation. You see what I'm saying? There's no difference on what PlayStation is doing to PC as what Xbox is doing with their first-party titles, moving it over to PlayStation. Because they're already doing PC and Xbox at the same time. Let me see what you guys are saying. All of a sudden, my chat just shot up and I missed it. Eventually, it's coming to PlayStation 5 sooner or later. Tony says, I still can't see Halo or Forza hitting PlayStation, but I would even like to see Starfield eventually. Elder Scrolls 6 go everywhere. Yeah, it's everywhere online now. Recent discussions are that Starfield updates shows it's being done because it's going PlayStation 5 and the Xbox show. We'll get to that. We have a whole bunch of stuff about Starfield. We'll get to the Starfield conversation in a second. Kylo Green says it's a smart move, but sadly, Xbox fanboys won't buy it and would go nuts online. It'll be funny, but it's the same thing that would happen if Sony was going to go move their IPs as well. Just like seeing the salt. Halo on PlayStation can only be a good thing, Robert Jones says. Ron Slusher says, I can expect foam stars on Game Pass. I don't know about foam stars on Game Pass. I mean, sometimes you just got to keep the good stuff to yourself, right? I can't go to Twitter at all without seeing posts about that. I have Call of Duty Ghosts and Assassin's Creed 3 Steelbook sitting around somewhere in my gaming room, Argus says. Travis says 30. They're incorrectly see it as, see, they couldn't make it only on Xbox, which isn't true. Well, yeah, there will always be that, right? And then someone tells you that they're not going to buy it, but then it's the number one selling thing on that platform. So, what's going on, Mr. Luke? Afternoon. And they think that they're going to announce it at the showcase. I don't know if they're going to announce it at the showcase, Mo. I don't think, if Starfield comes, I said this before it came out, when they first announced that they were buying Bethesda, I said that they can make everything exclusive for a time exclusive, and then they come out later on the thing, right? So if you're an Xbox person, you'll get it first, and then everyone else gets it later. I said that right when they bought Bethesda, okay? I wouldn't be surprised if they do move Starfield over to PlayStation, but it's fine. It's been out a year already on Xbox, so what's the problem? I'm still trying to show someone to show me what the problem is. If a game was out on your platform for a year, you had a year exclusive, and then it went over to another platform. If that's PC, if that's Xbox, if that's PlayStation, if that's Nintendo, what is the big deal? I want to know these people, right? I want to know the deal where if a person bought it day one on Xbox and then it goes over to PlayStation, how does that affect the person on Xbox that they got to play it a year early? I just Square Enix to quickly being a bunch of turds and release on an Xbox again. Like, what the fuck, man? Keep whining about how they aren't making enough money. Bunch of idiots. Argus says the Starfield convo is wild to me. Machiavelli says the term exclusive is dead. Should be for all games, not locked to one platform. I think Machiavelli, if you have a first-party title, God of War, Horizon, Spider-Man, Halo, now Starfield, now Gears of War, whatever. If they want to make those exclusive for the first year and their first-party titles, and they want to make them exclusive for 1 year, cool. Cool. Like, if they don't want to bleed over to the other console, cool. That's a business decision, and they have every right to do that, right? If it's first-party. If it's third-party, and the developer that's making that, like a Stellar Blade, okay, it's an exclusive title, they chose to make it on that one platform, right? It wasn't held back because of Sony. It was that they chose to make it for one platform, and that's what they did. Okay, I'm okay with exclusives, but after a year, after the time being, who cares after the fact? 95% of the people that wanted to buy that game bought that game for the console that they wanted to play it on. Derive pleasure from other people's suffering. It's not enough for me to enjoy a game. I need others not to be able to play it, and then I'm truly happy. They may wind up bringing Final Fantasy VII remakes to Xbox. It's not selling crazy or anything, and maybe because the Final Fantasy fan. But even I thought it would sell way more in the copies on PlayStation than it did. Well, I was very shocked. We talked about this months and months ago. I was like, what? They only sold 3.3 million copies and stuff like that for, I think it was Final Fantasy, was it 16? Or was it 14? I forget what it was. It doesn't sell better on Xbox when Final Fantasy 4, was it 14? Right? It was 14. It didn't sell better on Xbox than PlayStation. Obviously, there was more people on PlayStation than had Xboxes. So it sold more copies over here. Like, I think it was like 2 to 1. But they still sold like 3 million copies on Xbox, and not having that 3 extra million copies, that's a huge problem for the company. Would you rather get a game day and date or wait a year or more and pay full price for another console? Normal customers option 1, PlayStation fanboys option 2 all the way. Yeah, I would if I as a gamer, if I want a game that bad, if I just love it, and as a 45, almost 46-year-old guy, I don't really get excited for games anymore like that. Okay, but if I loved something so much, I would buy a console for that game. But because they tell me it's coming to PC, I'm no longer buying that console, regardless what console it is, if it's Xbox or PC, right? Xbox does day and date with their first-party titles. So if I want to play it on PC or if I want to play it on Xbox, that's my choice. Okay, PlayStation says I have to buy their console to play this game, or I can wait until it comes to PC. So I'll wait, right? I'll wait because I know it's coming. Hold on 1 second. Sorry. Oops. All right, sorry about that. Let's see. Where was that thing that you Artemis said that? Jedi Survivors on Game Pass for anyone that wants to play. We called that too, right? 1 year after I said it would be on Game Pass, and it came out 1 year on Game Pass. It affects them because Sony fans will be like, haha, look at all the exclusives that are all good, and you can't play them now. All your toys too. I have nothing, and we're better than you. I mean, if that's what they want to feel. Artemis, thank you much for the 5 gifted memberships. Thank you very much for the support. Appreciate that. Thanks for becoming a member. I'd rather pay full price for a game if it isn't bad supports the developer. We'll have a conversation about that in a little bit too, Machiavelli, about why I want to pay full price for a game and why I shouldn't pay full price for a game anymore. Okay? They say the prices are going up, and we'll talk about that later in the show. Eclipse says, but 30, how will I be able to get on the internet if I never play my games and say y'all are losers and not having it? It's true, Eclipse. Final Fantasy 14 is my game of choice at the moment. Been playing oh right, Final Fantasy 14 is the online part. What's the one that was on Xbox? It was Final Fantasy, was it 12? The one that came out for Xbox and PlayStation at the same time, a couple years ago. Is it 15? Okay. Wait a minute. 14? Right. 14's been out for so many years. It's been like a decade or 11 years. And then 14 or 15 came out. Yeah. That's the one that sold an additional like 2.5 million or 3 million copies on Xbox. But it sold like 6 million copies on PlayStation. Helldivers 2 would have been a failure in comparison to what now without the release on PC. I don't think it would have been a failure, Akuta Papa. It definitely, in the article that we read earlier, it said it wouldn't have made the top 20, right? It wouldn't have made the top 20. But it's number 2 and number 1 because of the PC market. Yeah, I'm lost with Final Fantasy. I stopped playing at 11, to be honest with you. Right, Jones. It would have been more successful than Helldivers 1, but it still wouldn't have been on the chart. They even said in the article it wouldn't have been in the top 20. I'm so tired of hearing to sorry the dev. So are you talking about independent devs? Because if you're not supporting the publisher, what are you talking about, Mo? I fully believe if it's on the buyer, whenever you're buying a game, is it worth full price or not? Don't want it? Then wait. No one's forcing you to buy the game. It's a pure choice. We'll talk about that, D-Money. We'll talk about that. It's part of the Starfield rant that I have. Final Fantasy 15 is also the Final Fantasy to break the 10 million sales mark, right? Because there's multiple systems. Ron Slusher says, would PlayStation gamers pay $70 to play Redfall? Well, no, Xbox players didn't even pay $70 for Redfall. There are people that paid $70, but the majority of them did not. They paid it on Game Pass. Failure in comparison to the PC PlayStation 5 release. It probably would have made it so the series died. I don't know if it would have died. I think it would have done very well because the game is a good game. I just don't think it would have anywhere near the sale. I mean, we know there's more players playing PC than the PlayStation, so more than half of the people playing are on PC. So obviously it would have made... So if it sold 10 million copies, okay, 4 million of them were on PlayStation, while 6 million were on PC, right? So it still would have been successful, just not as successful. I believe Starfield was $70, $100 if you bought the expansion pack or the season, yeah, the DLC with it, with the 3-day early access or 5-day early access, I believe, Machiavelli. When they say I'm buying the game to support the dev's already been paid. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't understand when people say that I buy the game to support the devs. They already got paid. When you go see a movie that I worked on, you're not supporting me because I didn't get paid until you paid for the movie. I got my money. I'm at home on my next job getting paid. We're not a server in a restaurant where you have to tip me to get paid. E-Money says, it's funny, I played 2 hours of Starfield and put it down. I paid $100 for early release and DLC. 2, no refund. I'm wanting for these updates and still enjoying the DLC for free in a few months. Well, if you paid for the DLC, it's not free. While we're getting Final Fantasy on both consoles, for a while we were getting Final Fantasy on both consoles, and that's when they were successful. They were selling more than they... How does the devs tackle piracy on PC? I'm not sure. I wouldn't even know how to answer that, Machiavelli. I'm not sure. I'm not gonna bullshit an answer for you. I have no idea. Would you play a Star Wars game that was an RPG like Mass Effect, cover base and all? Yeah. This goes back to the conversation I had, Travis. If a game is an IP that I'm interested in, it's the exact same game. If they made a Mass Effect game exactly the same, but instead of Shepard, I'm Luke Skywalker, or Han Solo, 100%. 100%. I know paying $250 for a DLC is a game is kind of excessive. That's not buying a game. That's a small investment. You're never getting your money back, right? I had this really good idea. A guy coming to your house, bro. You got $250? I have this big investment that I have, and if you buy in today, you can get it on the ground floor. That's what that is. That's not a DLC. DLC is $40. $250? That's gun to chest. Give me your money. The dev's been getting paid the entire process. All the money after that release is going straight to the publisher to make their investment back. I mean, obviously, you can look at it this way. They got the money. They paid the developers. They made a game. They sold a game. Then because they made money off of that game, they can then continue to support those developers for the next game. I'll give you as far as that. But you buying the game going, well, I'm supporting the devs, they've already gotten paid. Stealth says the new Star Wars collaboration cosmetic will cost around 12,000 V-Bucks in total. This does not include the Lego Star Wars decor bundles, which range from $250 to 750 V-Bucks in total. Jesus Christ. That's $120, isn't it? $120 in V-Bucks? 12,000? And that was the cost of the game. Would have made a return on investment. It's closed right now, releasing only on PlayStation 5, and also lost them lots of money. I use software to detect if they pirated, and software running in the background nonstop. Tanks your frames per second. Oh, is that how they detect it, Kylo? Robert Jones, I do enjoy a Gunblades. I'm waiting for games in general bringing gun chunks. Oh, why does nobody do this? Gun chunks. I know it sounds terrible and people don't like it, but companies don't care about the customers. They never have. Just put a portal info in gaming talk. Okay, let me What is this what is this, Mo? We'll look at this later, but what is it? The video on the updates for it? Is that what it is? You can look at it as just making sure the developers can keep their jobs in the future, basically. Yeah, but at the same time, the developers decide that for themselves, right? If you work hard, do the job that you're supposed to do, make a great game, and then that game gets recognition because it's a good game, it then sells. And because it sells, then they can make more games, right? As a customer, it's not my responsibility to buy something to make sure that they stay, right, in business. It's their job to make a product and then sell me on that product. And then that product is what I think is interesting. And then I buy it. And then if I like that product, and that product is really well, then I'll buy their next product, right? Or I'll buy a shirt, or I buy a soundtrack, or I buy a magazine, or I buy, like, that's their job. Their job is to make that thing. My job as a customer is to, if I like it, I'll pay for it if they exceed my expectations of why I'm giving them money. I think it's more of an anti-tamper technology. It's called de novo. Some games decide to use it. I think don't they all kind of use it? And that's why a lot of people talk about it and say, oh, it's bad. That's why it's pirated games, but it's also running in the background and it cuts your frames per second. I'll support the devs by buying their next game or DLC. Correct. Do you think devs should get royalties after making a successful game like actors do? Not all actors get royalties, right? So, like, if there's 5 actors that are main actors on the thing, only the top biller is making points on the back end. Okay, hence why, like, if you look at certain jobs, certain actors will take jobs and they'll take it for like $500,000, but then they'll take 2 points, 3 points in the back end because they believe in the project and they think if the project's really good, they'll take less money up front because they know they'll make more money in the back end. Right? You can't do that. Like, if they gave royalties, in your example, they're not the actors, right? They're not the actors in this scenario. They are the camera department, the grips, the director. Like, those people are the people that are making the movie. These people are making the game. Right? The art designer is the art director. The level designer is the script supervisor. You know what I'm saying? So it's not as a one-to-one where the devs would get points in the back end. Now, if you want to talk about the game director getting points in the back end, and they free up money there to give to other employees, and then he's more able to then get other people to be motivated to make a great game so they know they sell that game, and then he gets points in the back end, sure. But to say that the developers are like the actors, that's not a correct one-to-one comparison. That would be like me as a focus puller on the movie. I get points in the back end if the movie makes billions of dollars. That would never happen. Otherwise, your movie ticket prices would be $30 a ticket instead of $5 or $6 a ticket back in the day. Let's see. I don't feel any compulsion to support them in any way, Mike. I'm selfish as hell. I only care about me. And when it comes to them mentally, I just give me the damn product and shut up. That's how most people are. That's how most people are, right? I sit down at a restaurant. I order food. The food's good. Fantastic. I had a good experience at your restaurant. Tip gets bigger, right? I had a good experience at your restaurant. Tip gets bigger. Or I come back and eat there again. The only reason any actors get royalties is because they demand it. And they also, these companies want to keep being able to... Well, no, they can't demand it, Argus. They have to have... Like, Tom Cruise can ask for royalties, right? What's her name? Margot Robbie can now ask for royalties, right? People like Maximus, the actor that played Maximus on the Fallout TV show, he can't ask for points. He's got to prove himself before he can ask for points. He's got to be a leading person before he can ask for points. Sure do, Travis. I have it. I went to breakfast. I go about 3 times a week. Yep. Maximus be mumbling. Yeah. All right. I wanna see what you sent me here with this thing. Let me mute this. Let me raise the... Is it just music or do they actually speak? All right, hold on a second. Put your PlayStation 5 in the palm of your hand. 8 out of 10, this thing rules. Brilliant handheld gaming device. Easy connectivity with PlayStation 5. Feels fantastic. Detail haptic feedback and adaptive triggers. Bright, beautiful, and portable screen. Yeah, but what? It's just a commercial for the thing that it's been out. What am I looking at? Oh, it's a commercial. You thought it was something else. Oh, what the fuck? Now I'm gonna have to mute that section. The exact same thing. Come on, Mo. You buying it? Are you sold now? Stealth said I sold mine. Is this the thing? xCloud Gaming will soon support ability. Okay, so let's go to this next. This next topic is kind of going to be like a blend of a lot of different things, right? we're going to talk about Starfield is what brought up the conversation. They showed Starfield yesterday, and they came out and said about the 30, 40, 60 frames per second and whatnot, which then is going to lead into, I'm going to bounce back and forth and ramble a little bit because I don't write stuff down. Okay, this is all literally from the hip and reading stuff, and then things come to my head, and we have a back and forth, okay? But them coming out and saying in the past, okay, Phil Spencer, Todd Howard, talking about while 30 frames per second for Starfield was a creative decision, okay? Saying that, you know, they had no plan. This was a creative decision, meaning that this was from the start. That's what it was. It was 30 frames per second. We weren't even looking at 60 frames because we're just keeping it out of our head, and we're just putting it in there, right? So this is also going to blend into games coming out. We talked about Diablo 4 yesterday, finally being like a complete game 11 months, 12 months after the launch, right? Starfield having quality of life stuff that should have been in the game day one, and yet almost 1 year after, 10 months, 11 months after, they put it into the game, right? This is going to be like a running theme while I'm ranting through this about why we're going to start with Starfield. We're then going to go into product delivery, what's happening in the industry, and then we're also going to talk about just the industry itself as far as stuff that you're paying for up front and you're not getting what you're paying for, okay? So Tom Warren comes out and says, Xbox Cloud Gaming will soon support the ability to manage their game saves from the web, Samsung Smart TVs, allowing you to get out of the bad spot to start the game over again, right? So they're putting something in where you can start adding stuff and manage your games from PC, from the television set, from the stuff. So there's the first steps into what Xbox is doing with the cloud stuff, right? Resync game with Xbox Network, right? And this is also another thing, probably, you pay for certain things for Game Pass if they include it, certain things if it's part of the system. But this is what Xbox is going to. This is what Microsoft wants you to do, where you can play the game everywhere and anywhere. So if you played it on your Samsung TV, then you moved it over to the console, which then you moved it on over to the mobile phone, which then you moved it over to your headset. It's going to sync across all the stuff, right? Then Tom Warren talked about how Starfield is getting a 60 frames per second mode on the Xbox Series X. You'll be able to choose between 30, 40, and 60 or uncapped modes on VRR displays, or 30 or 60 otherwise. There's also a performance mode, which also adjusts the resolution dynamically to hit higher frame rates. Now, when we go back to way back when, June 12th of 2023, Starfield frame rate being locked to 30 frames per second is a creative decision. Okay, this is what they told you. This is what Phil Spencer told you. Okay. Where's that other video I had? I had a video and I probably shut it down. Son of a bitch. Hold on one second. Let me find that video again. Update. And did I close it? Give me a second, chat. History. Let's see. Just later. Where the hell did it go? I know I watched this morning. I looked it up and I was like, oh, this is what I needed. Did I close? Oh, maybe I didn't close it. Maybe it's on this page. Oh, I closed it. PlayStation huge update. No, I don't have it. All right, well, Phil Spencer sat on the couch and said that, oh, here it is. I found it. It wasn't on YouTube. Okay. He sat on the couch and said these words. Okay, so let's listen to Phil Spencer.
I think when it comes to this year, Starfield is the big thing. Today we confirmed it's 4K 30 on console. Do you guys feel like gamers got used to 60 frames per second, and that's going to be a hard bargain to make with them, or do you guys feel confident that they're going to get it when they're playing it?
I've been playing Starfield since November.
All right, you don't go brag about
No,
it.
no, it's not a brag. It's not a brag. It is a little bit brag, but the and the gameplay's great. And at some point, not to get all geeky about it, but there's render time per frame, and teams can either want to go horizontal or go kind of deep on a frame. And I think it's a creative choice. We obviously have games that are running at 4K 60 on the.
Now, I want to make it clear. He's saying, well, it's a creative choice, meaning he's passing the buck over to Todd, and Todd has said in other interviews that we've seen it. We're very excited that it's got up as high as 60 frames per second, but we want a consistent of 30. So they pushed it over 30, so it's very consistent, so it doesn't drop below 30. Is what they were doing, right?
The platform. It's not a platform issue. It's a
right. It's not a platform issue. He's like, we have other games that have 60 frames per second. Okay, we've done it before in the past. It's just a creative decision.
Creative decision.
Halo 120.
Yeah, and I think I trust what BGS, the decisions they make.
Now, him saying I trust, as a manager, you have to trust what your guys are telling you, right? The guy's telling you, yeah, we can hit 60, but we're shooting for 30 because we want that stability of it across the board.
And I trust what I'm playing. And we've handed the controller on a console to people here, and had them play. Done the same thing with Forza, and I don't ever want us to turn playing games into a math exercise.
Yeah.
That as players we say, hey, if the song doesn't have this number of tracks, or the game, and I'm not saying that 60 or resolution don't impact what you play, but I don't think we want that to turn into an Excel thing.
Right.
I think you want to give the creatives the tools to make the best decisions, and the game will be what it is. I think Starfield's going to be a great game, and I love the reception today, and I don't want to kind of force specs on every game before they start.
Force specs on what they start, right? So I 100% understand where Phil's saying, because obviously he's not in charge physically of Bethesda games and what they're making, right? They bought the company while they're in the process of making, right? While they were making Starfield, and Todd's saying, I'm making this scenario up in my head. Phil shows up and goes, all right, Todd, so we hitting 60 frames? He's like, we can hit 60 frames, but we really want a consistency, Phil. And I think if we do 30 frames, and Phil's like, all right, well, how am I going to spin this? And he's like, you'll figure it out, right? He's like, God damn you, Todd. Right? And then he's got to sit on a couch and then tell you, well, it's a creative decision, and, I trust them and what they do. And then Todd comes out and says, well, this is what it is, right? And what people, again, we just had a conversation, right? Argus even said it. I don't care as a customer, right? You sold me a box. Phil said on that couch that it can hit those numbers. It's not about the hardware, but yet there's two systems. They made the problem, right? They made the problem. The problem is the Xbox Series S, and the problem is the Xbox Series X. They wanted parity. They've never ever said that the parity is holding back one system to the next, but for some reason, one system's being held back over the other, which is the Xbox Series X. The Series X is being held back because of the parity. If it doesn't do 30 or doesn't do 60 on the Series S, they don't want it to do 60. But then something happened, okay? Because of Baldur's Gate 3's success, okay, and it was miles ahead, selling crazy on PC. Then it came out on PlayStation, and it wasn't coming out on Xbox anytime soon. And there was supposed to be a split screen or whatever shared, and they couldn't do it because of parity. They came out and said it's because of parity. And then all of a sudden, Xbox lifted the parity thing. They're like, well, you can do it. It's okay. You don't have to wait for it. Okay. And now, all of a sudden, Baldur's Gate 3 came out on Xbox. Okay. They shadow dropped it during the Video Game Awards show. And they were just like, yeah, it's on the system. And you could play Baldur's Gate 3 without the parity waiting for the S. Now, Starfield comes out. And it's 30 frames per second. And we're like, well, why can't it be 60 frames per second? They're like, well, they just can't do it. It's just consistent. You have to have it. And now it comes out 10 months later. Awesome. Coming out, you can pick 30, 40, 60 frames per second, performance mode, quality mode, whatever you want. You get to choose what you want to do on your Series X that you paid an additional $150 to $200 more for the Series X. Okay. Now you're getting what the thing said on the box it's up to, and you can actually do for the next gen consoles. Okay. And this is where my rant comes in, if this wasn't a rant already. Okay. My problem with the gaming industry is they tell you that the price of games has to go up. Okay. It went from 60 to 70, went from 70 to 110, went from 110 to 140. It's $250 for DLC, right? They keep raising the price of certain things because they tell you it's hard. They tell you that things, well, it's not how when it comes out, it's when it releases and how it finishes or whatever. And they ask for the money up front, not just the $70 for the game, but they ask you for an additional $30 for the DLC, the season pass, whatever else. Now you're paying $100, $110, $130, $150, $250. That content doesn't come out day one. You're paying upfront, full price for that thing. Okay. Now I'll even take the DLC out. I'll take the DLC out of it, right? They're asking for full price $70 basic game now. $10 more than it was. Gaming's hard. They have to raise the price up. And yet I get a game that doesn't have the full thing, right? Starfield was supposed to come out 11/11/2022, and then it got delayed to 2023. They could have delayed it another 10 months, and it would have been fine, but they made the problem because they gave a date out of 11/11/23, and then it was postponed. It was delayed, okay? And now it gets pushed back, and then when it comes out, it's missing a map feature, which they now added. Fantastic, right? Quality of life thing. That is not, I'm not going to be like, woohoo, that should have been in the game at launch, right? They made the problem, sold a solution, which on Game Pass, the marketing of Xbox is that they want you to keep coming back. They have to have a reason for you to come back. They want more people to be on Game Pass than actually buy the game. So they entice you by saying, well, if you don't have to own Starfield, you can get Starfield on Game Pass, and then you can only have to pay $30 for the DLC. So they made $30 off those people to play the 5 days early access or 3 days early access or what it was. But now you're waiting a year. You're waiting a year by Shattered Space when it comes out. You paid upfront a year ago for DLC. They get you on the hype and stuff, right? I love Starfield, okay? A lot of people give shit to Starfield. I'm not one of those people. I give shit because of the business sense of it and what they're doing right now. They make themselves look stupid when they say they're shooting creatively directed. They right, well, creatively we had to do 30 frames, and then 10 months later they come out with 60 frames when they could have just come out at the start at 60 frames per second. And everyone's like saying, well, it would have been a disaster. Last night, Robert Jones in chat said, well, it would have been bad if it would have got delayed more. Well, the delay got more because they put a date on it. If they didn't put a date on it, it wouldn't have been delayed. You waited 6 years, so why wait 7? Right? You waited 7 years, so not where 8. Because right now you did wait 8. You waited 8 years now because the game came out, it didn't hit what it was supposed to be, and now they put quality of life stuff in to make the game better. Or what it should have been at launch. And that is my problem. Not only with Starfield, Cyberpunk did the same thing. Cyberpunk came out, even though people enjoyed it, you got a lesser experience of paying it on day one than you did buying it 3 years later. People that bought it 3 years later had a better experience because it got rid of all the bugs, it got rid of all the glitches, it got rid of all the stuff. This is before the Phantom Liberty DLC came out. Just the quality of life stuff they did for Cyberpunk. These two factors are single-player games, right? These two are single-player games that are not live service games. These are single-player games you paid full price for. Okay, these are the companies that come out. CD Projekt Red came out and said, we're not going to be like the other guy, because they were talking about Fallout 76 at that time against Bethesda, saying we're not going to release a broken game like those other guys did, and they did exactly the same thing. Starfield comes out and gives you a less of a product with the money up front. Not only did you pay $70 for the game, but you also pay the extra money up on top of that for the DLC that's not coming out until after 1 year after the actual original game came out, right? Other games do this as well. The difference between Baldur's Gate 3, what they did, and what Starfield and Cyberpunk did is Baldur's Gate 3 was a early access game for 2 years, okay? And then it launched. And when it came out at launch, it was a much better fixed game than it was when the early access happened. Xbox is giving you Redfall, full price, okay, or you pay it on Game Pass, and it's a broke, buggy, unfinished game. You paid for the DLC ahead of time, 1 year in advance. You still haven't got any DLC for that game, okay? No support for that game whatsoever, but they want the money up front. It's the only industry that asks for everything up front, and you get half of the product, a third of the product, right? 2/3 of the product. Whatever it is, it's not a complete game when it comes out. As customers, you might not care, but you are paying for a product that is a less of a product if you wait 6 months, if you wait 8 more months, if you wait 1 year. Diablo 4, when it came out, it was a game. but it wasn't a complete game. It took them 1 year afterwards. The difference between Baldur's Gate 3 and Diablo and Baldur's Gate 3 and Starfield and Baldur's Gate 3 and CD Projekt Red is that Baldur's Gate 3 was in early access for 2 years before they released it, where No Man's Sky, CD Projekt Red's 2077, Battlefield 2042, Starfield, Fallout 76. The list keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. These are not complete games, but they're complete 10 months, 12 months, 18 months afterwards, but you paid full price up front. This has to stop, right? I don't care about microtransactions at this point. The conversation is you're paying full price for a game up front, and you're not getting that full experience up front. You get it later, after the fact. And that is the physical problem with AAA games right now, okay? You don't see a problem like this with Helldivers, right? Helldivers, in the scenario that it's doing, is they're giving you the exact same thing. It's not a full game right now, but it is part of the game because of what they're doing. It's a $35 game. They're constantly just updating. There's no roadmaps, right? People roadmap it because they data mine it. But what they're doing with Helldivers 2 is fantastic because it's part of the experience of what they're doing. It's not asking for your full money up front. It's asking you for $35, and the game is constantly going forward because that's part of what that game is and the story is, right? It's a multiplayer co-op experience. Starfield is a single-player game. Cyberpunk is a single-player game, right? Baldur's Gate 3, for the most part, is a single-player game. And again, they did early access before it launched. More and more games come out, broke, buggy, unfinished, ask you for full price up front, and it has to stop. We, as consumers, got to stop paying up front for games that are not finished. But these are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments section down below. Please make sure you share, like, and subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I'm sure a lot of people will be, well, you're just so upset, Dirty. Right? I am upset because there's bad customers that make this happen. And not only do they dick you over with the price of the game, but they didn't put in $80 monkey gloves inside their game for people to buy. Again, if you like what I do, check out some of our other videos. Thanks for watching. Yeah, I have no problem with the games coming out unfinished. We play a lot of early access games on this channel, right? We play a lot of alpha and beta games, but we also don't pay full price for those things. But then there's the AAA market that comes out with a broke, buggy, unfinished game. Xbox did Grounded correctly. Grounded came out in early access, okay? It was in the preview program on Xbox, and then it launched 2 years after in a much better state, but it's okay because it was in preview program, and it wasn't a full price game. Mr. Zivich says, maybe the difficulty of console players to understand the game is locked at 30 frames per second because 60 was unattainable experience at the time. Run a game on an equivalent PC, and this is true. Sure. Don't launch the game until it can hit the actual marks that it can. It's that simple. That simple. DF video, 4,800 plus 6,700 game ran at 60 in some areas, but also dipped into the 40s in other areas. Forcing parity is psychotic. If you pay less, you get less. Why should S buyers expect to deserve the similar experience to someone who paid $200 more? I don't understand that. I don't understand that, House. I've said this in the past. If we both have Honda Accords, right? Just going to pick a car. Honda Accords. I paid $10,000 more. I have a V6, you have a V4. Okay? I have heated seats, you don't. I got power windows, you don't. If you paid $10,000 less to bitch that you don't have the same features as me is insanity. It's insanity. Go on, Alien. Marvel's Avengers came out with those two options, performance and graphics. And it was released 3 years ago. It's such a load of BS from Microsoft. Mr. Seven, space segments should feel good enough on the equivalent PC. Dogfights were locked at 60 frames. Robert Jones says Baldur's Gate 3 devs pulled the Epic Games move with the parody comment. Oops, we didn't know crossplay was active. Exactly. Yeah, and they changed their ways real quick, didn't they, Jones? Xbox changed their ways real quick. Hard to understand being mad about a company taking feedback and updating responses, but it seems to be how it goes now. Reese, you understand that my problem is not with the quality of life, is that these things should have been in the game at launch. You understand the difference, right? You're telling me a console that can run the 60 frames per second that was being held back by themselves with the parity thing, okay? And also a map, right? You think a map in a wide open game is an improvement that was heard from the fans? You don't think that the company that made the game, that made Fallout 76, that made Fallout 3 and 4, that made Skyrim with a map already included, you think that's... I'm getting mad for no reason. Like the first they ever heard of it. Oh, people wanted a map. Oh, it's crazy. Altern says the worst part about it is people that are fine with it because I'm having fun and I don't tell them what to do with my money. Again, Altern, anyone can have fun with anything, but you got to know you're paying full price for less. No Man's Sky at launch was a shill of a game. Shell of a game. Okay? Years later, now No Man's Sky is phenomenal. This is why I'm not getting Outlaws. I don't know if to buy a AAA game at full price anymore. I think I'm done. Got burned way too many times. 30's right. We're buying games dipping into 640p and 15 frames per second. Xbox wants all gamers to be equal, no matter what platform you purchase it on. One correction. When you buy a brand new car, you pay up front, and then it has hundreds of recalls and fixed issues. What brands of cars that you're... But Artemis, in your analogy, which is fine, right? I know, like, the Teslas get updated because of software issues. I've owned my car now. I think we had a recall on... I forget what it was. I think it was the stereo system. Okay? But I also don't have to pay to fix that, right? They're also not selling me a microtransaction on top of that as well. Right? The car itself drives. It works. Obviously, if it's your steering wheel malfunction or your brake pedal malfunctions, that's a lawsuit waiting to happen. Okay? But for someone to pay $10,000 for a car and someone paying $20,000 for a car and the $10,000 car thinks they have the same features as the $20,000 car is insanity. They just want you to feel more like Dora the Explorer on Starfield. So you see my comment. I didn't say what you said. I said about Starfield delays was barely here last night. I thought last night, Jones, you came in last night and said, I could have sworn it was you, that you said that if it came out even more delays, it would have killed the game. I'm paraphrasing. But I could have sworn it was you that said that if it came out even with more delays, it would have failed. I could have sworn it was you. I'll go back to the past broadcast after stream and look at it. I said nothing of the sort about delay. Maybe another Robert. I'll have to look at it. Well, I apologize if it wasn't you. Well, I don't know what I apologize for. Sorry I said it was you. It's not an apology, because you saying that's not wrong. It's just using you as an example of if they didn't put a date on it, it wouldn't have been delayed. You know what I mean? So many sympathizers, it's silly that straight up lied to you and not give you a feature on the Xbox and broken games, and people are just like, well, it's okay. Yeah, but they're not the only ones. You know what I'm saying? It's not an Xbox thing. It's not a Phil Spencer thing. It's not a Todd Howard thing. I put many examples, Rose, right? I'm tired of... My thing is not about Microsoft or PlayStation. It's about the business as a whole. It's about the practices that they do and what they get away with. It's the only industry where you pay full price for something, right? if you bought a microwave and it didn't have a feature on it, or they added the feature later, you would return it. If something was broke, you would return it. But for some reason with video games, we're like, no, it's okay. No, Mo, see, it's not about if it was broken. Do you understand? See what you're saying? I didn't say it was broken. I said that it was released when it wasn't fully featured. There's things that are in the game that should have been in day one that came in 10 months later. It's not about being broken. It's about accepting that you paid for a full price thing and you're not getting the full price thing. You're getting full price and you're getting the thing 10 months, 12 months, 18 months later. You don't pay for the recall if you fix it within a certain time frame. I remember buying a Ford Explorer in 2011. That thing had 6 recalls. Well, here's the next question, Artemis. What car do you drive now? Are you still driving a Ford? Let's see. The X and the S debacle is enough for me to never buy another Xbox to fear that we'll do this again. And this is exactly where I'm going. I have the same Ford Explorer. All right, well, here's the next question. Would you buy another Ford? See, I had a Dodge Dakota. Love that truck. Okay? A favorite car. Okay? It had a factory defect of paint that the company knew about it, but didn't tell anybody. Okay? Well, see, you're a good consumer then, Artemis, because if you're not going to buy another Ford, you learned your lesson. Just like I said earlier, I'm not going to sell my Xbox, but I'm also not going to buy the next Xbox when it comes out because of what they did this time around. Okay? Back to my my Dodge story. They had a factory defect with the paint. I will never buy Dodge again because Dodge gave me $500, okay, which took 3 years to get a paint job. Well, anybody that owns a car knows that you can't get a $500 paint job. Okay? So, I said, fuck you, Dodge. I will never buy a Dodge again. My sugar mama wife just paid off my Kia, suckers. Come on, Dolphin. Buy a 4. Now that's a microtransaction because you all pay for more of the maintenance fees and actually driving it. I never buy a domestic car. I only buy Japanese manufacturer cars. Uh-oh. We're getting into Water's bringing in the car soul wars. That's good. Good for you, man. Making more money so you can get a better car. Or at least you hope. My father-in-law got a car, and it was a lemon for him. He went up in the price of the car, and it was an absolute lemon. I believe it was a Mercedes, if I'm not mistaken. Was it a Mercedes or was it a Lexus? It was a Mercedes. This is years ago, like 20 years ago. Reese says, Starfield wasn't broken. It had minor bugs. Starfield was also not incomplete at launch, what they said it had. No. It's missing features, which is why the quality of life stuff is now coming to the game. The 60 frames per second, the maps, the things that you could build a base, but now you could put something in your starship, which you could have done, I don't know, back in Skyrim by placing stuff down in your house and other things. These are features that were in their past games that weren't in their game at day one, which they could have been if Starfield came out this year. So everyone keeps saying that I think Starfield was broke. Never said it was broke. I said it was incomplete features at launch. I'm going to pass my Ford Explorer on to my 15-year-old once he gets his driver's license. We'll make sure there's no more recalls on it. Redfall is $70 on Steam right now. Is that the Back for Blood edition, House, or is that the regular game? Hilly says, missing features and heavily delayed launch. How can it delay the launch, Hilly, if they never announce the actual launch date? You see what I'm saying? Standard, Jesus. They did it to themselves. If they announce the launch date, well then, yeah, you're going to delay it. But if you don't say announce date, and you do what Cyberpunk did, and say, well, we're not coming out with an incomplete game like the other guys, and then they do the exact same thing, and then 3 years later, they've made quality of life fixes over the next 3 years to make it the game that they promised you at launch, you know. They're confident in their product, Mike. That's crazy to me that they're charging $70 for Redfall. Think about this, House. They're charging $70 for Redfall 1 year after it came out, and yet Frontiers of Pandora and Skull and Bones are half price right now, just 3 months after they came out. Yeah. Microsoft is really, they're like, we believe this is a $70 game. Starfield announced 11/11/22 date. Yeah, absolutely. And that was their mistake. If they never announced that date and they just worked on the game, can you imagine if it came out? Can you imagine if Starfield came out on 11/11? What would have happened if it came out that date when it was still missing the features that it's missing right now? What features else do you think would have been missing all those months later? You think we would have got the same game that we got for Starfield when it launched in September? Then we would have gotten an 11/11? I know the answer. In no way, shape, or form can anyone actually be like, yeah, we would have gotten just the exact same game. There's no way in hell. You think at Halo Infinite, if it came out when it said it was supposed to release and not a year later, you would have been the same Halo that you got at launch, which was still missing features? Wouldn't be talking about Starfield. You'd still be talking about it because you'd be like, oh, excited about Starfield. Okoki says, I agree with you. 30. The industry, for the most part, is setting a terrible precedence for releasing minimal viable product, but there are also some rare exceptions. Stellar Blade is for sure. Sure. But you don't look at the... When you look at problems, okay, how can I... What analogy can I use here? All right, your neighborhood. Okay, your neighborhood, there's a crime spree going on, right? Two of your neighbors right around you got robbed, right? Do you worry about the people that didn't get robbed? No, you worry about the problem that what's happening. Well, why did they get robbed? We should do something so our neighborhood, more people don't get robbed, okay? Like, you're not worried about the standard. The standard is nobody should get robbed. Nobody should be endangered, right? You should be able to go out of your house and not get robbed, okay? But if you don't tell the problem, if one house got robbed and then two houses got robbed and no one gives a shit, then 3 and 4 and 5, well, then you set a bad precedent, right? And the people just keep doing the same thing. They're like, yeah, you could go hit up that neighborhood. No one cares. Nobody cares. So you coming in and saying, well, there are exceptions. That's the standard. Games should come out complete, not incomplete, for your money. God of War Ragnarok was coming out a few days later. Starfield had no chance. That's two separate completely games, especially since they're not even on the same console. To say it doesn't even have a chance. What are you talking about, PL? You mean the same people that didn't buy Starfield wouldn't have bought Starfield? Because they can't? Is that what you're saying? You won't buy Ford, or we'll move on to that to the next neighborhood. It also would take time to change, but eventually happen, I think. Sure, but what I'm saying is you have to be a good consumer, right? You got to be a good neighbor. You can't accept the norm as the unicorn. Paul, even if it did come out, the people on PlayStation can't buy Starfield. Release date is fine. Don't say 60 frames, a creative decision. Well, I disagree with the release date. The release date is a release date. But if you make a release date and then don't hit that release date, then it's not a fucking release date. Right? Now, once the release date comes, you're like, well, it's better they cook it. Or rather a better complete game than a broken game. Right? Don't give a release date until you know your game is complete. Kylo says, yeah, let's go to the movies tonight, babe. They decided to release a new Avengers movie halfway done and barely edited at all, and then we could pay next year to watch the full thing. Yeah, I don't see a problem with that, Kylo. Hey, why not? God of War was 2022? Yeah, so would have Starfield. Starfield would have been 11/11/2022. That was the original release date for Starfield, 11/11/2022. Argus says, my dad's a huge Chevy guy, and he has 3 different vehicles. He's 13, and I've also had Ford sucked in 3 different ways of his vehicle. I've adopted the same tribalism since childhood. Hold the game back and hope someday it hits 60 frames per second? What do you mean, hope it hits 60 frames per second? What if they started adding unfinished movies to streaming services? Well, they kind of do that with shitty movies. You're like, wait a minute. They just kind of put this together. There's like no third act. They just kind of put it together at the last second. PL, yes, you're absolutely correct. And that's why I said, but it doesn't matter because the people that are buying God of War couldn't buy Starfield. That's called the Snyder Cut. There you go. Speaking of which, PC has had 1 games of service from Sony and 2 first-party ports this spring. Wonder what's in store for summer, fall, and winter. I know Final Fantasy 16 is on the way. Final Fantasy 16 on the way to Xbox? Mr. 7? Is that what you're talking about? All right, we're gonna watch Juicehead's video of the Starfield update, right? Because my rant, again, is not about Starfield being bad or broke. My rant was about the industry and how they deliver games and expect you to pay full price for a game, and it doesn't have a full price game, right? That's the rant. But a lot of you took what I said and look at it as like, well, Starfield wasn't broke. I put 192 hours into Starfield. I liked Starfield. Okay? I didn't even pay for Starfield. Okay? And even if I did pay for Starfield, okay, I would still say the exact same thing because it's bad business. If you like paying for stuff that's incomplete, cool. I'm being vocal because I don't want incomplete shit as you get my money up front. Argus says it's definitely going to go over to PC, and I wanted more sales with the game that I got it. Sony problem I see is gamers are being told to vote with your wallet, but it also needs some litigations until companies are going to run wild. Absolutely, it's the Wild West, PL. They can do what they want, and they make it up as they go. They see how far they can push it. There will be a free Star Wars Fortnite reward tomorrow. Earn via Twitch drops. Okay. It looks really bad when you're like, it's a creative decision. And then 10 months later, like, oh, we got 60 frames per second now. And obviously, I talked about this last night when we were playing Division 2, right? I said, obviously, if they came out and said that 60 frames per second is coming out, but it won't be out at launch, then no one would have bought the game when it launched. They would have waited because they want the better experience. Imagine that. Someone wouldn't spend their money if they knew something better was coming down the line. But when they tell you something is not coming, you're like, well, I guess 30 frames is it. I guess I'll get my money. What is this? Rumor is, just Gordon, most likely true. Just make peace with it. Xbox as hardware platform is likely dead. All games will end up. I already talked about this already. We already read an article about that. Already read an article about that. All right. We're watching Juicehead. Juicehead is a content creator on YouTube. He makes a lot of Bethesda stuff. I like watching his stuff. All right, so let's watch this. He went in and played the actual beta because it's on Steam right now. You can download the client and play it and see what they're working on with the map and stuff like that. So he's gonna tell you more than any other article and stuff that we have so far. All right, so here we go.
Earlier today, Bethesda gave us a big update on the future of Starfield. The new May update just went
Let me make sure. Okay.
to testing on Steam, but even beyond that, they shared a new video highlighting some of the major changes to come with this May update. But what I think a lot of you are going to get excited about is they also showed us some of the things coming further down the line. As later in 2024, Starfield is not only going to be getting a new Shattered Space DLC, but also some functional vehicles. And I even think I figured out what this Shattered Space DLC is going to be all about.
Varun. Those of you that played Starfield, you would know.
Thanks for uploading this video in 4K, Bethesda. But something else I want to give you a peek at is the Starfield display. Displayed offers high-quality metal posters that you can easily swap out and rearrange. They have a ton of options for Starfield and even some newly released content for the Fallout TV show.
Do they make frames? Do they make frames for this? Is there an option to put like a little trim around it or something?
My affiliate link down below to pick one up for yourself and even get a bit of a discount. Earlier today, Starfield's May update went into testing. You can opt into this one on the Steam beta, and it'll be a 15GB download, or it's just going to be dropping on all
Eclipse says yes.
platforms as a typical Starfield update on May 15th. New surface maps were added instead of these crude and large.
I like this. I like what they look like, but I feel like it almost looks like a college dorm. Do you know what I mean? As an adult, I like frames around my pictures.
Unhelpful digital maps, you'll now find these beautiful top-down views of each of the major cities in Starfield.
I like the way the map looks, but here's the thing. After playing 192 hours of this, I don't know why I would use this. Do you know what I mean? Like, and here, let me explain what I mean. When I play Grand Theft Auto, okay, I love Grand Theft Auto. I know every city like the back of my hand, just like where I live, right? I don't need to look at a map to know where I'm going because I've played so much. I live here so long that I know the things, right? The map looks great. So when I walk around a city or I walk around something, I already know where the things are because I've played 192 hours of it and I know where it is. I've learned the map because I've played the game. Now, I totally get that there's markers now, but I kind of think the markers kind of go against the design process of what they've done with Starfield in the beginning because they said what they said and now they're doing this. And I understand it's the feedback from the players. I hope it's an option to shut these off or only show when you're like looking at that certain thing and like hit it, because that kind of breaks, and I'm being very serious about this. If I look at it and the immersion's all over the place and I see all these circles, that kind of takes me out of the moment of being what they wanted the game to be.
These are fully 3D. You can
So I'm not against it. I just hope there's an option where it's not always on like this.
rotate them around and zoom in to really see the details on this city. And while that aspect is cool, it's almost even cooler that you could zoom all the way out. These surface maps don't only apply to the major cities, but seemingly to all of the landing spots in Starfield. So you could zoom out to see that full tile.
So can you just fast travel to all these places now?
And even zoom in on some of the pre-generated locations that are around you. Some places will have multiple maps, like for example, Neon has a different exterior map compared to the Neon core map, which is different for the inside. And the
Oh, they have the inside maps. I didn't notice that yesterday.
same is true for the well in New Atlantis, which also gets its own map. And while these maps are beautiful and very handy, I can't imagine you're going to be using them all that much because to go along with this, they also implemented a ton of new location markers to make navigation far easier in major locations. You'll see these all on the map, and as you start walking around, you'll begin discovering all of these new locations. Of course, they're not
There you go. As you walk around, you'll start to see them or whatever.
actual new locations, but there's just now map markers to all of the notable locations in cities. So even on foot, you'll be able to just run towards the marker for your apartment in New Atlantis,
Follow the marker.
and once you discover that marker, you can just fast travel to it at will. So these maps are kind of an ironic addition. Many people
So now you have map markers to show on your map that you will no longer use because you don't need the map.
wanted maps to make navigation a lot easier.
Think about what you just said. Once I find it and the marker shows up, I no longer need to look at the map because I just fast travel to the marker.
But since they added in all of the map markers, you really don't need the map anymore. You just follow the map markers on your compass or fast travel directly to where you need to go. Right now it's a beta implementation, so there are definitely some quirks to the system. As far as I can tell, there's no way to just hotkey the surface map, which is a bit frustrating. You're going to constantly have to open up the regular map and then hit a second key to open up the surface.
That's not true. That's not true. You could just hold start and go directly to the map.
Map. A dedicated hotkey for the surface map
Maybe he's talking about PC.
would of course be a lot more handy. Fast traveling somewhere will place you outside of that location, which is a bit annoying. As I fast travel to the store, I'm placed just outside of it. So you're hit with back-to-back load screens for the fast travel and then entering the actual location. It just seems like it'd be a lot more efficient to fast travel you directly inside. Unfortunately, the same is also true for your apartment. As well as inside these various locations, the surface map won't work at all. You're only able to see the regular map inside of things like the rock right now, which definitely feels
Well, that makes sense because, well, not for everything, but it makes sense because it's only it's the handcrafted stuff.
like an oversight. Although another really cool feature is
Wait, let me hear what he says there again.
inside these various locations, the surface map won't work at all. You're only able to see the regular map inside of things like the rock right now, which definitely feels like an oversight. Although another really cool feature is the surface map will accurately reflect your ship's modifications. Sadly, this does not work with outposts, but it also
Cool.
gives you the ability to freely fast travel to many of the locations around you that you discover.
Also, how's this different than Skyrim and Fallout? Also, no, just holding the button on PC also works. That's what I'm saying, right? You could literally if you tap it, it would go to the other map, right? But if you held it, it would go to the surface map.
Near your landing spots. A ton of new gameplay options were added with this update. These are in the handicap style, so you can increase or decrease the difficulty. And
Oh, and to answer your question, it's not different. And this is exactly what I'm talking about when I said my rant before. I said these are things that were already in other games, and yet they weren't in this game.
give you bonuses or take away from your XP gain. A lot of these options are really cool. You can tweak the damage dealt for both ground and ship combat and even do this separately. You'll have different values for when you're dealing damage versus when you're receiving damage. So here in ship combat, I'm taking way more damage from these enemies, but I'm dealing way lower damage to them, basically making the game as difficult as possible. And when it comes to these combat modifiers, there's even a new extreme value, which is a step above very hard. You can go for some higher stakes ground combat where both you and enemies will hit a bit harder. So enemies are dealing extreme damage against me, but
I do like the fact that they let you raise the XP, right? It's a single player game. I played through the game. I have 192 hours in the game. Now I can go in, raise that XP up so I can get higher levels faster. Like, who's that affecting, right? So I really like that they gave that choice in the game to make it harder, easier, more storage, less storage, whatever you want to do, you can customize the game.
I'm on very easy against them, so hypothetically, the time to kill will just be dramatically lowered across the board, which could create some really fun encounters. But one of the biggest pieces of feedback I'd have is to allow me to tune this even further. Like, in this example, these enemies are dealing as much damage as they possibly can, but I'm
doing a shotgun build right now in Fallout 76. I might do a shotgun build in Starfield.
still able to comfortably tank a bunch of shots. I think it'd be really cool if even at the mid to late game, you could have it so enemies and you can take down others with just a couple of shots. Even here on the extreme difficulty, I could tank shots all day.
The one thing that I don't like, I said this last night, Mr. Seven, the worst part about Starfield is that one freaking mission you do 1,000 times is you find your ability, you fly around, you do the thing a couple times, and then you get the power, and you got to do that 25 times, and you got to do that 250 times if you do the New Game Plus, New Game Plus, New Game Plus, New Game Plus. That's the worst thing they've ever done in any of their games. At least in Skyrim, Sarge said this last night, right? At least they gave you different bosses to fight when you get your powers. Okay? That's the worst part. The only other thing I would like in this game is the same problem I had with Fallout 3, Fallout 4. I just want co-op. I don't want multiplayer. I just want co-op. But if they come out with the Fallout 76 version of Starfield, I'm all about it.
Hey, you could also create your own survival mode with these options. You could add weight to ammo, so you have to deal with that. Make it so the various afflictions are harder to cure or even more impactful. Like you can get afflictions from combat with other humans, not only combat from animals. And of course, requiring food and water or your character will get a debuff. There's no sleeping component, that's just not a thing except for healing afflictions. But you can make it so you're going to need to eat or drink or you'll have some of your stats get lowered. And this really just seems to be an on or off switch. You're either dehydrated and getting your stats lowered or you're hydrated and getting your stats boosted. There's no in between. So it does become a pretty simple system. Most of the food items in the
That's what's happening in Fallout 76. Fallout 76 is the exact same thing, right? You eat and drink to get to get bonuses, but nothing happens if you don't.
game will make you fed for 30 minutes just from eating one thing, and then once that 30 minutes of in-game time expires, you're going to be malnourished and get a deep.
Yeah, Reese, we talked about this during that stealth mission that I was playing. We tried so hard to do the stealth mission, and it kind of you're not very stealthy in the stealth mission.
Buff, so you'll have to immediately eat again. As well as most of the liquids in the game do count as drink items. So I was predominantly drinking bourbon to stay hydrated, just like in real life. And there's even a nice option to have it so there's only the bonus side. Exactly how it works with Fallout 76, where if you eat and drink, you'll get a bonus, but if you don't eat or drink, you won't get a
There you go. He just said it.
debuff. It'll just have nothing happening. I'm happy they added in these options. It definitely makes food a viable and relevant part of the game, but at the same time, you could tell this was a bit more haphazard compared to the implementation in Skyrim or even Fallout 4. But some of the other quality of life features you can access via these gameplay options are really nice. You can make it so you could transfer items to your ship's cargo hold from anywhere, no longer.
We talked about this. I was like, why can't I put stuff on my ship anywhere, right? Because they wanted to make it real. They're like, well, you gotta get close. And then they made it where they did the quality of life after the game came out, where it's like 2,000 meters in front of the ship. Then you could put it in.
Having to be in proximity to your ship. You can make
Or was that already a feature? No one knew about it, and they figured it out.
it so you just have more carrying capacity, and there are several values here. You can make it so food items will heal you for a bit more, although in my testing, this really wasn't even that much of a bonus. Food items will become 4 times more effective, but they're still not really viable for healing. It's still just the stat bonuses that you'll care about, and one of the most important changes for a lot of you, you can make it so vendors will have more credits. It seems to
They need to do this in Fallout 76. the vendors in Fallout 76, I mean, obviously it's a completely different beast, right? They made this change because people were doing the puddle thing, right? And doing the glitch, and they got rid of the puddle glitch. And now they've upped the ante. Like if I have the stuff to buy, then let me buy it. I'm playing your game. I have the resources to sell. Let me buy what I want. Like I hate then you gotta sleep for like 48 hours and then you do it again. Fallout 76 needs something along with the credits as well, but understandable. It's an online game. It might break the game if they do it as big as this, but me and Mr. Luke were talking the other day. I think Fallout 76 needs to do twice a day, right? 1400 for the first 12 hours, 1400 for the other 12 hours. So in a 24-hour time period, it resets twice instead of once a day.
To be about 5 times. So regular vendors will have 25,000 and some of the trade authorities will have over 60,000 credits now. And overall, I found these to be fine. I think conceptually, a bunch of new gameplay options like this are fantastic. I hope with every single Bethesda game we get in the future.
That's not true. Early access is not over, Titan. Not over. Because they're still doing every 6 weeks, they're adding quality of life options or features.
We have a menu just like this one. Being able to handcraft your own difficulty mode is just so much fun with these games because they're an RPG at the end of the day. How I want to play is probably different from you. The only aspect I'm not really...
Yeah, this is a win, okay? This is 100% a win, right? So you can see what they're showing here. Enemy combat damage, player combat damage, enemy ship damage, player ship damage, ammo weight, carry capacity, cargo assist distance, vendor credits, medical item healing, food healing, sleep healing, substance, combat affliction treatment, protagonist, environmental damage and afflictions, environmental damage and restoration, aim assist controller only, save on rest, save on weight, save on travel. So it's nice that they made this where you can make it how you want to play.
Huge fan of what the Starfield implementation is you're not able to go to some of those more extremes. I think it'd be fun to have a few more options on this. And even beyond that, I kind of wish it actually gave us the real values. Like instead of saying I'm going to deal more damage, just tell me what it is. Is it 50% more, 100% more, 200%?
I agree with this. Just tell us what it is.
That more what? They added in the ability to decorate your ship, which...
This was in Skyrim. Literally in Skyrim.
I honestly found to be a super nice addition. It gives you access to a building mode within your ship. So
we actually said this. I was like, why do we have an outpost to decorate when I want to live on my ship? How come I can't decorate my ship? Then we unlocked, I said this really early on when we were playing Starfield. Then obviously they had, as you unlock stuff and learned more things or found more people, they had the prefab ones. And I was like, oh, this is cool. I wish you could see the interior of the prefabs before you bought them, that you could redecorate them. So this is a big change as well for those that cared.
So you could place down all sorts of objects, crafting tables, and of course, a ton in the way of pure decorations.
Which I think this is the first steps towards making Starfield into Fallout 76, by the way. Just saying.
The way this will work is you can either use an existing ship interior, what was already in the game, where there's a bunch of things pre-placed.
If they bring in a microtransaction store, even in a single-player game where you can get different shaders or different... cosmetic looking type of stuff to put to your ship or your base
around, you can add on top of that, like I could place a second couch or I can place a lamp on top.
You can't even do this in Fallout 76. What he just did there, it's so finicky in Fallout 76, yet you can do that in Starfield.
Top of a shelf that's already there, but you're not able to move around the things that were pre-placed by that interior. Conversely, there's going to be a bunch of new ship interiors as well that are just empty.
Nova Galactic all in one berth.
It'll be in the layout of those other interiors, but without any of the furniture, so you can freely furnish those as you want to.
That's nice.
For me, I'll probably just use the pre-built interiors, but I know for a lot of you creatives out there, this is an awesome new feature, and
Here's what I want as a gamer that loves Starfield, right? Because it's a single-player game, I can grab stuff from the world and then bring it on my ship. Now, I don't know if it stays there, but this is exactly why I like the creation engine, right? So let's say I went onto a planet that no one's been on, okay? I find a weird object that I want to bring back to my ship. Then I can bring it back to my ship, and I can put it on a shelf and be like, that's from one of my adventures. You see what I'm saying? I know it means absolutely nothing for most people because most people doesn't give a shit about that, okay? But if I find something, okay, I would like to put it on my ship, and it saves on my ship. Does it stay there? Because I've put vodka stuff on the tables before, and they were gone. Maybe my guys drank them. I put books on the on the desk and they've disappeared, Akuda. So I don't know if they actually stay.
Love that they added this to the game. Containers on ships are now going to be sorted into categories as you deposit items into them instead of just being one big list. After going through New Game Plus, you'll now have the option to change your appearance and traits for the next playthrough. This is really nice, especially being able to change up your traits.
I don't know if I would do this. I don't know if I would change my traits. I'm a person that I don't think I would change it unless I did the all 10 rounds of the new Game Plus.
This is really cool.
I like what my character is, but I think it's cool that it's there for people to change, so it's a different playthrough every time they do New Game Plus.
As those could have a big impact on a subsequent playthrough, and I wouldn't be shocked if this gets a lot more people to actually go through.
Oh, it does. I did it with my apartment. See, mine were missing on my ship. Maybe it's a ship thing and not an apartment thing.
Unity and start a new game. You'll even see yourself as a Starborn in the
because the ship is moving. You know what I mean?
Trait selection screen now. They added an option for disabling the dialogue camera, so instead you'll just remain in first person as you converse with some of the other NPCs around you. I really like this one. I think it makes many of these scenes feel more fluid and more immersive. It's not like you're transitioning to the talking part.
I think this is a good option, a good feature to put in. Should have been in the game, but here you go.
But just like everything's flowing together in one consistent thing. Except there's one gigantic downside: you can't actually move. You can freely look.
Oh, you can't move. So you're stuck in place. So that means if you're too far back and you start the conversation, the camera's going to be too far back. And if you're too up close, then you're going to be really up close.
Look around, but you are locked in place. I'm not allowed to walk to the side or forward or back. And you're just kind of locked in place wherever you're standing once dialogue starts. So sometimes I was slightly far away.
He's too far back.
I almost wish I could take a couple of steps forward, but I'm unable to. I'll probably keep this setting enabled, but I definitely wish I had the ability to move around during dialogue as well. One of the features that we're not able to test.
I have a problem with that sometimes in games where you can move around. The audio gets fucked up, right? Like if you turn around completely, like you can't hear the audio, and then you turn back around to look at them, all of a sudden you can hear them again.
Right now, but Bethesda gave us some visuals on are some new performance options for consoles. As with this update, you'll have the ability to both set a target FPS as well as what you want your game to prioritize, whether it be visuals or frames. For target FPS, this will vary depending on whether you're using a variable refresh rate display or not. If you don't, you can either set a 30 or 60 FPS target, and then as you play, the game will attempt to hit that number. If you do have a variable refresh rate display, you have many more options. You can select 30 FPS, 40, 60.
We'll definitely jump back into this on May 15th.
60 or even uncapped FPS while you play. And then for visuals, you can ask the game to prioritize either performance or visuals. And this is genuinely a pretty cool feature, almost getting into some of the PC performance options we're used to. So if you're targeting 60 FPS, you can select performance and the game will look worse in order to get you to 60 FPS as much as possible. Conversely, if you're on quality and 60 FPS, the game will sometimes be under 60 FPS, but it'll always look great. And Bethesda describes that if you do have a variable refresh rate display, Starfield will now always target a 40 FPS mode. Okay. Regardless of whether you're on performance or quality, you'll have 40 FPS. So for a lot of you, hopefully the days of 30 FPS are completely over and you can now play at either 40 or 60 depending on if you want better performance or better visuals. Beyond that, there's also a mountain of bug fixes coming with this update, but during their video, they also gave us some previews at features coming a bit later in 2024. The big one many are pointing out is this new vehicle.
There's going to be so many videos. There's already so many videos of this. Okay, people talking about the rover. Okay, this is going to blow up the internet again because of the stupidity of the tile scenario that we had originally with the map. Oh, the tiles. You can't get across the tiles. Now people were complaining that they can't get to the tile. It's so boring to get to the tile, to the end of the boundary. Now they have a vehicle to get to the boundary, and that's what you're going to hear about.
We heard how new ways to travel are coming, and while I thought it might only mean jetpacks, we can now see no, rovers are coming to Starfield in 2024. This is honestly huge. Right now, when you land on a planet, this is the best way of getting around. But hopefully in just a few months, this will be the best way of getting around, and it seems like it's going to be...
Here's my... Obviously, it's a video game, okay? But remember Todd Howard said that he wanted to be the most realistic space game, okay? So now you're giving a rover. I would assume that to get the rover, you would have to have a storage pod or something on your ship to have the rover drive out or store it, okay? I hope it just doesn't appear just there. It's like automatically there. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, is it realistically just going to be dropped off, or do you have to buy the storage bay that has the rover in it to add to your ship?
Be a lot more fun. As well as during this short clip, they do say it's the first land vehicle, so perhaps more are coming. But this next part is a bit curious, so I do want to play their audio here.
The team is working on our first land vehicle, so you can drive around on planets. Obviously, we're working on more quests and the massive Shattered Space expansion.
They list off the things they're working
So are the quests coming with May 15th, or are they coming with the Shattered Space?
on, but it almost sounds like these new quests may not be a part of the DLC and are instead just
Okay, that's my question.
a free update coming at some point in 2024. It is hard to tell if that's the case. They say quests and then they talk about the DLC, so
Right, they didn't say new quests inside Shattered Space. They said there's new quests, and we have our big Shattered Space, right? So let's rewind that and listen to them again.
play their audio here.
The team is working on our first land vehicle, so
And he says our first land vehicle, right? Our first land vehicle. So I wonder if the second land vehicle is going to be one of the mechs and stuff that we saw during the Great Mech War. That'd be interesting.
you can drive around on planets. Obviously, we're working on more quests and the massive Shattered Space expansion.
Working on more quests and Shattered Space. So it's not Shattered Space with more quests. It's more quests and Shattered Space.
They list off the things they're working on, but it almost sounds like these new quests may not be a part of the DLC and are instead just a free update coming at some point in 2024. It is hard to tell if that's the case. They say quests and then they talk about the DLC, so it almost sounds like they're separate. But either way, these new quests do look interesting. The location we're seeing here is the new Trackers Alliance base.
That's wanted posters and whatnot, so you're going to go after certain people.
This is their logo on the wall, and it even says it in the editor. The Trackers Alliance in Starfield are that faction that will give you bounties against.
Is land vehicles gated by Shattered Space? I'm not sure, Titan. Perhaps. Tracker Alliance self-bounty clearance kiosk. If you have a bounty with them in Shattered Space, which is a faction would you like to contact on behalf?
To others, and they could even help you clear your own bounty. It looks like in some update or the DLC, they'll be getting a base of their own, and we could see a giant wanted board on the wall. You have to imagine there'll be some kind of bounty hunting questline, which to me sounds pretty fun. It also looks like it'll be located somewhere in Aquila City, just based off how this room looks. But I also think this video basically confirms the main plot of Shattered.
Yeah, that's definitely Varun type of stuff.
Space. On both this armor that's shown as well as
That's Varun
this
armor.
epic looking location, you could see the name Varun, effectively confirming that this DLC will be focused on House Varun and likely them entering into the settled systems and whatever disruptions occur as a result of that. This new armor being designed seems to read Spacesuit Varun 02 Low Poly, and to me this looks great. It definitely has some similarities with the existing Varun armor in game, particularly with how large the visor is compared to many of the other spacesuits in game. And the new location we get a tease of, we could see a ton of rune related variables pop up on screen for just a moment. To me, this almost looks
I love people. They're like, Chicha. They have that eye thing. They goes, and they like zoom in and they're like, did you see that? You see what it said right there?
like it'll be a new planet, and perhaps the planet House Varun originally comes from. In Starfield right now, you can of course fight a bunch of these guys and even interact with a few of their members, but you never truly meet this faction or have a questline around them. You never get their full presence, but you have to imagine that's what's going to be happening in Shattered Space. It definitely looks like this is some kind of House Varun temple that's located somewhere, and these things off to the side almost look like they were spheres with continents on them, like a globe, but for me, it's kind of hard to tell exactly what's
Yeah, off to the side there. No, I think those are... I don't know if that's spheres or if that's like a tree with like a shield on it. I don't know what the hell that is.
going on here. It gives me Eldritch vibes more than anything. And with how some of the House Varun content we already have went in the past, I have to imagine that we'll get into the abstract with this DLC, which for me is very exciting. And with it being named Shattered Space, I have a feeling the other major factions will see a significant disruption as a result of House Varun coming into the settled systems. In an interview from a few days ago, Todd Howard mentions that Shattered Space is coming this fall, and Tom Warren of The Verge expands on that to say it's targeting a September release date right now.
September would be 1 year after the game came out. And this goes back to my conversation. You paid for that DLC a year ago. You know what I mean? Give the money up front, wait 1 year to get it.
but we should be hearing more about this in just a little over a month at the Xbox Game Summer Showcase. And something else we should see in June is mods for Starfield. It's confirmed in this video that verified creators have access to Starfield's mod tools and are already able to start working on things. Verified creators are the new members of this paid mod system for Skyrim that should be coming to Starfield later on. Overall, this is
That's another thing. A feature that they said that was going to be in the game with the mods and stuff like that. 1 year later, another feature that was missing from the game at launch.
definitely been the most exciting Starfield post-launch update that we've ever gotten. I'm not sure the May update will get many of us returning to the game just yet, but it looks like they are setting up a really solid foundation for once we...
Well, here's the thing, Paul. I got the code for the 3D early access, right? And they gave me the game. But at the same time, they didn't give me the DLC. So when the DLC comes out, I'm going to have to pay, which is fine. So I didn't give them a loan, but you know what I'm saying? So I would have, because I got the code, I didn't buy it, but I would have given them the 3-day early access so I can, get the DLC, which would have gave me the 3-day early access, which gave me access, you know what I mean, as a streamer.
we get proper mod tools or that first DLC drops. And then you'll...
Wasn't that always how it's been with DLC? No. See, Mo, you remember that because that's the standard now.
probably see the floodgates open as a ton of fans return to this game and are able to take advantage of many of these upgrades and improvements being made right now. Or maybe they won't. I honestly don't know what's going to happen with Starfield. I don't know if the player base will recover. But at the very least, a House Faroon DLC as well as Rovers get me excited, so I'm curious to see where they go in the future. I really enjoyed this May update video in general from Bethesda. I hope this is something we see them continue doing in the future. More communication is always a great thing. But otherwise, check out this video to see my full breakdown on the Xbox Summer Showcase.
I'm excited about the DLC. I'm one of the few people that admit they like Starfield. There's a lot of people that like Starfield, but I'm one of the few that admit I actually like Starfield. I had a great time. I loved it. But I like Bethesda games. Bethesda's so lazy. Why can't they just add armor slots to mix match armor and some bosses? Add the land vehicles, customizable, and add more detail quests. I think the reason they don't, D-Money, I think it has to do, and again, I have no proof of this in any way, shape, or form. I believe the way they're doing it is because it's connected somehow down the road for some Fallout 76 type of online feature. I don't know why. It's just, it's this gut. I have no proof of this in any way, shape, or form. It's just, I have a feeling that's why they're doing what they're doing. If you played early, then you already own the DLC. But I got a code, so I got to look at that code again when they gave it to me and see if it said if the DLC is included. Yeah, it's a good video. I like Juicehead. He's pretty level-headed when it comes to... People say he's a shill more than not, but he just says the news and tells you... Because he's so upbeat, his voice is so upbeat, even when he's got negativity to say towards what they're doing, it still sounds positive. Either way, I'll be getting the DLC. Wait, you admit that you like Starfield 30? Unacceptable. Unsub. All right, see you later. Has any Bethesda RPG had transmog? I don't think so. Transmog... Yeah. Well, there's a question here. ESO has transmog, but that's a ZeniMax Bethesda thing, not a Bethesda RPG, right? It's a MMO, and there is transmog in it. So yes, the company has done transmog, but not one of Starfield's, or I'm sorry, one of Bethesda's single-player RPGs. No Bethesda games have had boss fights? What are you talking about? Have you played Skyrim? There's boss fights in Fallout 76. There's boss fights in... They're not the traditional boss fight, like go to the end of level and... Yeah, the DLC coming out a year later is fine. It's just the companies are asking for the consumer to pay for it at release now. Right? Here's the thing. Where is that Redfall DLC, Mo? Do we have a release date on that? Let me see. Redfall DLC. Fight Back Edition. Fight Back Upgrade. Redfall Hero Pass with 2 future heroes. Where are they at? Laser Beam multi-weapon skin. Where's that at? Tackle Knife Stack Weapon Attachment. Where's that at? And where's the stuff at? It's not even content. Just extra characters. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. There's no boss fight. Oh, I get it, but you don't have to pay for it? No, but stop with that statement, Mo. They're selling something that they haven't delivered on yet. How are you supposed to know that as a customer? Right? They're selling something to you. You're like, "Oh, I'm going to buy that." Right? I order a pizza with pepperoni. Pepperoni doesn't come on the pizza. You eat the pizza, and then they're like, "Here's your pepperoni." And you're like, "Well, I didn't have to buy the pepperoni." You as a customer thought you were getting a pepperoni pizza. Right? Not saying Starfield's shutting down and Bethesda's done, but right now, they have your money for any... Take Starfield out of it. Any game that asks for DLC up front, money up front for the DLC, what makes them work on it? What makes them work on it? They could close down. They could let go of the whole developer staff and be like, "Yeah, we just couldn't make it." They don't have to finish the game, but you gave them the money up front. Stop with this. You don't have to pay for it. As a customer, they're selling you it. They're like, "Hey, if you really like the game and you're going to buy it, you might as well get the DLC." And then where's the DLC? Where's the stuff I paid for? Don't worry, it's coming. I'll tell you what, Mo. When you resub to my channel, I will ban you after, because you didn't have to pay for it, but I'm gonna ban you anyway because I don't want you to see the rest of my content. You see what I'm saying? That sounds pretty shitty, doesn't it? Or sub to my channel, but I never stream again. Right? At the end of the month, I wouldn't make any more money unless you paid for the year in advance, and then I stopped streaming. Right? That would be pretty shitty, wouldn't it? Everyone, make sure you get a full year subscription to my channel. That way I can stop streaming for the rest of the year. Don't worry. I'll go live 366 days from now. Just so because you didn't have to buy it. It's the only business where you can buy the stuff up front and you don't get it. $30, you got the DLC skin pack. Starfield digital artwork, the original soundtrack, early access. Oh, here we go. You didn't get the content. You don't have the content yet. I gave 2 analogies, PL. I gave you the pizza pepperoni analogy, and then I gave you pay for my 1 year of subscription up front, and then I won't stream anymore. All right, see you later, Mo. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you very much for the support. Speaking of resub, that's what we call comedic timing. Thanks, Mo. Remember for 14 months. Speaking of resub, Game Pass. I mean, look up the Blood and Wine. I mean, I hate Cyberpunk for what it did to me, but they didn't make people buy the DLC until it was announced. And that is, well, let's be honest, Eclipse. They had to fix the game before they showed what the DLC was. And that is earning back some goodwill. Do you know what I mean? That's earning back some goodwill. Paul Gaming, thank you very much for the 10-month membership. See you in a year. I was including those. Every game does the exact same thing. They get more advanced versions of the basic ads, and they have to figure out how to use the brain to beat them based on them. Right, I'll just let my AI version do it. Yeah, I'll be a VTuber. What you're saying is void of any gaming logic. Oh, you're talking about D-Money. If you're talking about no boss fights at the, go get your power, jump around, do the thing a couple times, then you go outside and kill one guy, yeah, that's not a boss fight. If they added a boss fight in that room, or you go through the portal and you end up on a separate planet or something like that, that would be dope. All I was saying is if that Bethesda could do boss fights, copy and pasta what their other games did, and could make their games infinitely better. I mean, they have boss fights. There are boss characters in Starfield, in Skyrim, in Fallout. But for getting your powers and doing absolutely nothing but floating around the room and then walking out and then shooting a guy in the head, that's not a boss fight. That particular thing. But there are bosses or named characters. They do the exact same thing as like what Division 2 last night. There's just named guys. Those are bosses. It's not like Destiny, like you're going through a strike and then at the very end there's a big boss. Paul says, I don't know about you, but the old school in me, but I never want Bethesda RPGs to change. I love what Bethesda RPGs are. I'm with you, Paul. Call me selfish, call me whatever. I love the way Bethesda does what they do in their games. Everything, in my opinion, and I know a lot of people will disagree with me, I love that I can do what I want in a Bethesda game. I can be as hardcore as I want as far as doing the main storylines. I can just do the side missions. I could literally just go around the entire Skyrim and do whatever I want. Okay, I can go around collecting potatoes or books or whatever. It's whatever I feel like I want to put into that. If I want to fly around my spaceship and go to each of the planets and explore each of the planets, I can do that. I don't have to. But the fact that they respect your time, like you want to do the main story? Good, do the main story. You want to do side quests? You can do the side quest. If you want to just fly around the thing, you can do the thing. I love that about Bethesda games. I don't need people to hold my hand and tell me where to go and what to do. That's why I like their games. If I want to be told what to do and where to go and stuff like that, I'll go play another game that's very linear. Kill these guys, get to the end, kill the boss, go to the next level, right? Their boss fights are weak to other games in the same space. To me, at least. Because you're looking at it as you want a boss fight with... You want a traditional boss fight, right? You want, like, Mario sees Bowser, and you have to dodge Bowser and then bop him on the head. And then you want a specific, like, boss battle where these games are... You're in the world and then you're just a boss fight. It's a boss. It's a named boss level. I don't want it to change because Bethesda is not what other games are. Bethesda games are about the lore building and what is in the world. People think they should change the creation engine, but the creation engine is what they make. That's why the games are what they are. Mr. Seven says, I'm a big Bethesda fanboy too. No other game gives you the amount of freedom at the top of mod support. Right, on top of mod support, yeah. Even Destiny's the same. The ads that leads you to the learning how to beat the bosses, and the boss is beefed up. Normal enemy with something that takes your brain to work around. A lot of creative decisions in Starfield feel more like they ran out of time to implement them. I agree with that, which is not my problem. As a customer, right? Not my problem. You put a product out, I expect that product to work and feel like it's complete, right? People can enjoy it and dislike it, but if they put out a product that they wasn't complete, that's not on me, that's on them. This is like the industry standard now, though. For open world games, Bethesda isn't as special as it isn't used to be, and this is why they are tanking. Are they tanking? See, I think this is like hyperbole. Like, I think this is just like there's none of their games have tanked. Not even Fallout 76. None of their games have tanked. All of their games. Hold on a second. We don't know how many Fallout 76 sold. Okay, let's see. This is an article from GameRant.com, and this is from September 18th, 2023. Okay. Bethesda's highest-selling games. Elder Scrolls Arena, 3,000 in 1994. Elder Scrolls 2, Daggerfall, 120,000 in 1996. Elder Scrolls Blades, 1 million in 2019. Fallout 76, 1.4 million in 2018. Elder Scrolls 3, Morrowind, 4 million in 2010. Elder Scrolls 4, Oblivion, 9.5 million in 2015. Fallout 4, 12 million in 2015, launch day. Fallout 3, 12.4 million in 2015. Elder Scrolls Online, 18 million in 2021. Elder Scrolls 5, Skyrim, 30 million in 2016. Fallout Shelter, 170 million in 2020. Starfield, we don't know, but we know 10 million people played it. More people, this is their words, not mine, more people than they've ever played any of their other game at launch. Doesn't mean they sold it, right? So I don't really know where this is coming from as far as, right? Because I believe like Fallout 4 right now is at like 22.5 million sales total. $25 million sales. Fallout, the original Fallout, which they didn't own, 97, 600,000. Fallout 2, 123,000. Fallout Tactics, Brotherhood of Steel, 300,000. Fallout 3, 12.4 million. Fallout New Vegas, 11.6 million. Fallout 4, 25 million. Please show me where Bethesda is failing. Because with these numbers, man, I would love to fail. Oh, you want me to move the goalpost, Sarge? All right. We're moving the goalpost because Sarge says first there's no boss fights, and now there's boss fights, but they aren't the same as the other games. The goalpost is moved. Would you like to see... Hold on a second. These are all the games that Bethesda has. Okay. Some are super successful, others are whatever. Right? Indiana Jones coming out. We got Starfield, Hi-Fi Rush, Elder Scrolls Castles, Redfall. Okay. Fallout 76, Quake, Mighty Doom, Elder Scrolls Online, Doom Eternal, Ghostwire. These are all things that they've published or created. Deathloop, Fallout 4. Didn't Deathloop win Game of the Year? Or was in the running of Game of the Year? I didn't think it should be up there. Okay. Wolfenstein, Rage 2, Blades, Fallout VR, Doom VR, Skyrim VR, Wolfenstein, right? Dishonored, Quake, Prey, Dishonored 2, Fallout Shelter, Dishonored, Wolfenstein, Evil Within. Right? Look at this company failing, man. Right? Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 3, Oblivion. And look at all these failures. If you're not a Bethesda fan, you don't like them. That's a failure as a company. What are you talking about, D-Money? The public hates them. Well, it's amazing. It's amazing that the public hates them, but yet they're still successful. You don't have to have everyone like you. They're successful with the fans they have. Why would you go look somewhere where fans aren't? You think I give two shits if someone's not a fan for me? Right? Right? I'm a company entity. People come to my show, they don't like me. Okay. See you later. I don't care about the people that don't like me. One word, Nickelback. Oh, man. Public didn't hate Bethesda at all? No. More people love Bethesda, and they're upset with Bethesda because they're making the games they feel like they shouldn't be making. That hate sure ain't showing. I like Nickelback. Of course you do, Mo. I have a question. How many people don't like Taylor Swift? How many people don't like Taylor Swift? You know what the answer is? It doesn't fucking matter. Because she's number 1 through 14 on the Billboard charts. Right? Doesn't fucking matter. D-Money, so I guess every PlayStation 5 game is a failure because I don't like PlayStation 5 games. Yeah? The only reason that Bethesda gets hate, and I'll give you 100%, is because of Fallout 76. That's it. The persona around Fallout 76 when it launched is what people like. Oh, they're on their way out. They're on their way out. So far, PlayStation 5 games ain't making money, according to Hiroki. I haven't seen that, Mo, so. Bethesda's problem right now is they literally have too many IPs that are successful that they can't work on them all at the same time. They're too successful. They got Elder Scrolls, they got the Fallout, now they have Starfield, right? They have so many IPs that people love, they don't have enough time to make them all. They have to start giving. They have 5 different devs. 5 different dev companies working on games right now. Okay, Bethesda's great and they don't need to change anything in their games. No, see, now D-Money, you're just like, well, fine. You're like a spoiled little kid right now. Fine. No. Right? You said a bunch of shit. I gave you factual numbers of what they've sold. You said they're failing. Show me where the failure is. If you want to talk about they have problems in their games, sure. Sure. I gave you problems in their games and said why I think the quality of life thing should have been on day and date, not 10 months after. I gave you a problem with Starfield saying that their main campaign with just collecting shit and then walking out the door is a problem. Fine. They're perfect. You're right, 30. Nobody said they're perfect. All I did was bring up factual figures of what they're doing. They literally have how many IPs? Let's see. Grow from 15 to 23 studios. The first list of developers. That's the developer. What IPs? Okay, so the studio is best known. It's got the Fallout IP, Elder Scrolls IP. Let's see. They got the Quake IP, the Rage IP, the Doom IP. They got the Wolfenstein IP, the Deathloop IP. What else they got? They got Ghostwire. What other game do they have here? Alpha Dog has anything? No. Right? So they have like 7 or 8 profitable IPs under one studio. Hence why Microsoft paid for Bethesda and not $7.2 million for Bungie when they asked for it. Right? They paid $7.5 billion for ZeniMax and Bethesda, which has 23 studios underneath their belt. Where Bungie by themselves wanted $7 billion for their one studio, and they said no. Hence why Sony paid $3 billion, and they overpaid. To be fair, I said in my opinion they're failing in the public eye, and that's the past release. I'm pretty sure you said the public after what you said originally. But let me see. I can't look up your within here, so I'll have to scroll back up. Let me see. Boss fights are weak in other games and set in the same space in the least. It's like the industry standard now in the open world games. Bethesda isn't as special as it used to be, and this is why they're tanking, is the first thing you said. You didn't say in your opinion, right? The public hates Bethesda. LOL. They aren't Bethesda fans. You don't like them. That's a failure as a company, in my opinion. That's 4 comments in of your opinion. Before you said, in my opinion. But, okay, let me scroll back up again. In the order that you typed, okay? First you said they had no boss fights. Then you said this is like the industry standard now for the open world games. Bethesda isn't as special as it used to be, and this is why they're tanking. That's what I started commenting on. Then I brought up the information. While I brought up the information, you then typed, okay? You then typed, the public hates Bethesda. While I was still bringing up the financials of how many people played and bought, okay? So it doesn't matter about what the public thinks of Bethesda, because what public are you talking about? The people that are not buying their games or the people that are buying their games? Then, and only then, after I said the financial stuff, okay, if you said, if you aren't a Bethesda fan, you don't like them, and that's a failure as a company, in my opinion. Not until after, right? Saying the public, after I was already bringing up the financials, to show you that they sold 25 million copies of this, and there's 10 million people playing here, and whatever. To say that the public doesn't like them is counterproductive, because the financials, at the end of the day, the financials is the end of all, right? If the public didn't like them, then they wouldn't have been playing the game or bought the game. See, that's the fun part about being just a gamer, okay? The customer is all about the money. The company wants your money as the customer, okay? Once you buy that game, they don't care, okay? They just want as many people to buy that, and 25 million people bought Fallout 4. 12.3 whatever bought Fallout 3 on day 1. 10 million people played Starfield. We don't know the sales numbers of that, okay? So for the public, I don't know who this public is, because you could say that for any game. Any game. The public doesn't like it because the majority of the player base doesn't buy the game, right? 10 million people bought Spider-Man. Well, there's still 290 million people that didn't buy Spider-Man. So does the public hate Spider-Man? No, the fans that like Spider-Man bought Spider-Man. The fans that played Starfield like Starfield. Look at the release from Bethesda, the public outrage about the people upset. I think they've been failing. You're the only person taking numbers. Because I talk facts. You got to get out of the chamber of people talking shit about stuff. You got to stop watching videos in your own closed bubble, right? I am not a Bethesda lover or hater. You brought up a point. I brought up facts. The facts are the public doesn't hate Bethesda. If the public hated Bethesda, why would Fallout TV series be as successful it is, which then brings people back to the actual game? All their games. It's like, if you say someone, you're broke, I show you bills, and you're like, well, you're talking about money now. Well, yeah, that's what makes success in a business. How many people are buying and playing your game? Once you bought it, you've already given them your money. They don't care if you play it for 10 minutes or 10 hours or 100 hours. If you want to say who cares, they made money, then okay, yeah, you're right. That doesn't mean that the public loves them. God, money. I don't know what if someone shit in your cereal this morning. I don't understand where you're going with this. Put a Bethesda poll on an approval of their actions. I'm so small, it doesn't matter what poll I put up, D-Money. Right? And at the same time, the people that are on YouTube that watch the same videos that shit on other things are the people that would vote on that thing, where all the other people that don't go to YouTube to watch critics talk about the video game, they just buy the video game and play the video game, are a much bigger portion than the people that go to YouTube to hate on a video game. Okay. On Steam, because everybody loves using Steam numbers. Okay. Let's get this right. There's 10 million people that played the game. We don't know where they played it, if it's on Xbox or PC or whatever. All reviews is 97,000 reviews. Okay? That's a really small chunk of 10 million people that put a review out that they just hate it so much. And it's mixed. It's a mixed review. Okay? Paul says over 13 million. Right? So, it's a very small percentage of people that are vocal about what they are. Because the rest of the people, they either buy the game or don't buy the game. And the people that buy the game are now qualified for them to give a shit what they like and what they don't like. Then they go, how many people are playing? How many people are still playing now? How many people still want to play? What people are talking in our Discords? What people are talking in our forums? Who wants what in what game? And this is when they start making the quality of life changes that should have been in the game. That's 2% of the math is correct. But this is not failing financially. Then this is all they care about, that they're not doing good. I don't think that they're doing good in the public eye. Now you're saying, in your opinion, that you don't think they're doing good, which is fine. The financials say differently, but you have your opinion, which is fine. Your opinion is wrong in this moment because they're the most successful that they've been now than they've been in the last 6 years. Because of a TV show. They have more interest in their game, all their games, across the spectrum right now than they've ever had because of a TV show. Where is... We did a poll. You asked for a poll. We did a poll. I don't remember what I asked a couple of weeks ago. There you go. So, this is for the TV show. Have you watched the new Fallout series on Amazon? If so, what did you think? 183 people, which is very tiny. I have a very small channel, so I have 183 people, which is pretty impressive. 64% loved it. 21% thought it was good. 9% thought it was okay. And 5% thought it was trash. Okay. With Fallout TV series coming out, would you all be interested in me jumping back into Fallout 76 after all this time? Okay. 47% out of 129 people wanted me to play it live on stream. Other people, 22%, wanted watching it as an upload. And then 33%. So 67%, 69% were interested in somewhat shape or form of me either playing it live or they'll watch it later. And 30% not interested at all. Okay? So there's the polls that I can give you for games that are interested in. I guess Sony is doing poorly, too, because out of the money, loss, firings, lawsuits, and more. Yeah, but it's not about... Akuda Papa, it's not about... This is not an Xbox Sony thing. their games were still nominated in the public eye. Were still nominated. Didn't Deathloop? Am I wrong? Didn't Deathloop? Right? They're publishers. Bethesda's a publisher. They didn't make the game. Won best game direction, best art direction. It didn't win best game of the year. Tied to most with the 3 awards, and later, oh, it did. It won game of the year. Yeah. So in 2021, a game that they published won game of the year. Fallout 4 was nominated for multiple games of the year awards. I don't know if they won it or whatever. Okay. Most of their games win awards because they're good at what they do and people like their games. They're either published by Bethesda or they created by Bethesda. Okay, Redfall. Fantastic. Marvel made 15 great films, and then they made Captain Marvel. Or Miss Marvel. Great. They made Shang-Chi. Right? You can't have all hits. Fallout 76 was successful for what it was. It was a piece of shit when it came out. I won't fight you on that. Okay? It's still around 5 years later. Tell me what game was so bad that it's still around 5 years later. Where are all these other live service games that came out? Where are they at? In no way, shape, or form was Starfield a failure. No way, shape, or form was it a failure. For YouTubers, it was a failure. Financially, it was not a failure. You gotta stop listening to the people that just, oh well, Bethesda's failing and they're gonna go under and all. That's not happening. That's not happening anytime soon, man. If Starfield was a failure, Cyberpunk was a failure. These are facts. If Starfield was a failure, then Cyberpunk was a failure. Now, obviously, I don't believe that. Because obviously, Cyberpunk is not a failure. CD Projekt Red failed as a company by doing what they did with that game when it came out. Did you see Season 2 weapons for Suicide Squad? I didn't see them yet. Did they post them out? Stealth? I gotta download the game again for the update that comes out next week to see what the Superman fight's going to be. I played all 3 of those games. They were failed releases, in my opinion, and I call Bethesda failing. Maybe not financially, but at the public eye. That's my point. That's your point now, D-Money. It wasn't your point when you first started this conversation. I can agree with you when the games, hence why I had a rant earlier about games coming out incomplete and not full of the features they promised. But in no way, shape, or form can I be like, well, in the public eye. The public eye, if it's a failure, would be like Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad in the public, meaning the majority. Let me change that. The minority, or the majority of the minority, is not buying or playing the game. That is a failure. right? And they aren't a failure in the public eye. Right, right. Okay. Like, there's more people not playing Suicide Squad because of what it is in the public. Me saying Bethesda's failing and tanking, and you saying that it means financial when it didn't mean financial doesn't mean my point changed. Deep Money, you understand that financially they're successful, meaning it's not tanking. And even the game after, 6 years after, Fallout 76 is more profitable and still around. There's more people playing this shitty game that came out 5 years ago than there was 5 years ago. Financials is the only thing that matters in selling video games. Sea of Thieves 2-day post-launch statistics. The comparison giving us an idea how things are going. Xbox Game Pass, 579,000 players. PlayStation, 1,650 players. I mean, that's a lot of players on Xbox. Or Game Pass, 579,000 players. 500,000 people are playing Sea of Thieves on Xbox. 1,650 is pretty sad. But that number will grow, right? That number will grow. You got to remember, Sea of Thieves is also a 5-year-old game. Well, at one point I was broke. And now I'm not. So am I always broke? I don't know if this is real, but did you see the 7-Eleven handheld? I did not, and I doubt it's real. Is it 1 o'clock already? Holy shit. New trailer for Cobra Kai. Final season on Netflix, July 18th. D-Money says, yes, but I'm not going to act like Bethesda putting out good show changes their game release over the last 3 to 5 years. When they do good, they get positive feedback from the community. I mean, you could say that with anything, right? If you're going to throw Bethesda in that category and fixing their game over 3 to 5 years, you got to throw everything else. I'm consistent. I put them to their feet to the fire just like all the other companies that fixed their game over the last 3 to 5 years. Right? Just because I like Bethesda doesn't mean I can't shit talk them. But to say that they're not successful, that's just crazy. That's a lot of people not buying a game, but hey, that's the model of the business. You're talking about Sea of Thieves, right, PL? Tales of the Empire doesn't disappoint. Exactly continues the Baroness offers story, closely connects to the Mandalorian, Ahsoka, or heir of the Empire. Fourth sister is surprise highlight. Oh, is that out already? I'm gonna have to watch that. It looked good when I saw the previews of it. Right, Akuda. Right. Suicide Squad, Diablo, Destiny, Starfield, Cyberpunk, Battlefield. Finish Bad Batch Season 3 first? Okay. Look at this title. We might... maybe we'll talk about this tonight. This is a title that just popped up from PC Gamer. Bethesda should just say, screw it. Move on from Starfield and put all the energy into Fallout. I don't know what the article is. Maybe we'll talk about it tonight on GXG. We'll talk about it tonight on GXG. I'll add that to the list. I think it comes down to everyone's separate definition. When I say failing, it might not compute 100% to you because you don't know me or language I use and way I tend to... I understand that, D-Money. Like, if I say a game is good, everyone's like, it's not fucking good, it's a terrible game. I'm like, you understand good is like I understand what you're saying. From your very first comment, when I looked up the numbers of... that's where the conversation started and where we're here now, okay? You're saying that Bethesda's... is the persona of it is a failure to the public. And what I'm saying is it's not a failure financially, so it can't be a failure to the public because the public is still buying their games. They had 40 million before it went to PlayStation and only 500,000 on Game Pass. Seems pretty profitable without the 1,600. They really think the whole team is still working on Starfield? Well, 250 people is working on Starfield. They've said that out loud, right, Paul? Well, no. That number, right? I'm included in that number, and I bought Sea of Thieves back then, right? So it says Xbox / Game Pass. It's not that 500 number is not just people playing on Game Pass. I want to be clear on that. Right? Every time I log in, it doesn't count as a Game Pass. Right? I bought the game for $40 6 years ago. So there's people that bought it, and there's people that are playing it. And the people that play it on Game Pass, they might have spent $40 6 years later into the thing by buying a microtransaction or cosmetic of some sort. Of course, there's a lot of people that probably didn't. But they probably been playing Game Pass long enough where they made the money back on Sea of Thieves if that's the only game they're playing. Because if it's the only game that they're playing and they're playing on Game Pass, well, that's a really expensive pirate game then. Just because family loves their dad, you can still be a failure to the family. Jesus, Z. Honestly, the moment of TV shows has greenlit Bethesda should have begun work on the Fallout. Whether or not, now to be fair, House, we don't know what they're doing behind the scenes, right? We don't know what they're doing behind the scenes. In the public eye, we think that they're doing nothing, which they could be doing something. 7-Eleven is teaming up with Tetris to make this Slurpee handheld. Well, that might be real. That might be real. Well, we'll talk about this. I'll post this in the we'll talk about this tonight on GXG. I think of Elder Scrolls game is pretty hard to screw up, if I'm being honest. Paul says less now. Do we know that for a fact, or are you just saying it? I think they said last November 250 of the 450 staff are still on Starfield. I would think that that's now less. I think it will get less after the DLC comes out, Paul. But again, I don't know, right? I would assume that once the DLC comes out, they would lower that more. All depending on what they have planned for Starfield in the future, and then also what they have planned for other things. Also, that change to Unreal Engine 5 better come quicker than later to Bethesda Game Studios. If they do a hybrid with the creation engine with the Epic Unreal Engine, I would say sure. But if they're changing the Unreal Engine to what Bethesda games are for the Fallout series, for the Skyrim series, for the Starfield series, I think that would be a major fuck up for Bethesda. Because again, Bethesda games of Fallout, of Skyrim, of Starfield are with the creation engine. That engine makes what those games are. If you don't like those games, then don't play those games, because that's what makes those games those games. If they want to take other franchises that have nothing to do with the persistent items in the world, then by all means take it. I even said it last night when we were playing Division 2. I said, man, can you imagine a Fallout game with the Snowdrop engine? But I also said right after that, I was like, I don't know if they could do what they do in that world where all the stuff is movable and placeable and stuff like that. Because the set design of Division is amazing. But the suitcase is on the ground. I can't pick up that suitcase. I run around opening up a bunch of boxes. Who knows? Maybe behind the scenes for the past 5 to 10 years, they've been working on a new version for the creation engine. Starfield is the new creation engine. The first part of the new creation engine that they did the upgrades with. All right, I gotta get out of here because it's 1:30. I got stuff to do. We'll be back tonight. Generation X Gaming, the weekly podcast that goes over a few of the top stories from the past week, and we rant along the way. I appreciate the conversations. I hope no one takes anything like dead serious. Like, I'm not coming back to this guy. This guy's a fucking asshole. And if you think that, I mean, I am an asshole, and sometimes I'm a fucking asshole. But don't take it personal. We're having conversations and whatnot. See you guys tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.